3 minutes. That's how much time Olivia Vance has left before her life crumbles completely. In the glittering ballroom of San Francisco's most luxurious hotel, surrounded by hundreds of discerning high society eyes, she faces a cruel choice: marry a notorious crime boss or go to jail for a crime she never committed. Luca Moretti, the most dangerous man in the city, holds evidence that could ruin her, and he's just made an offer she can't refuse. Follow this story to the very end. Like and comment with the city you're watching from so I know how far this story has progressed. The champagne glass trembled in Olivia's hand. Not much. Just enough that the liquid inside caught the light from the crystal chandeliers overhead and threw tiny, desperate rainbows across her knuckles. She stood near the back wall of the Fairmont's grand ballroom, watching her half-sister Marissa glide through the crowd like she owned every inch of marble floor, every breath of perfumed air. Marissa probably did own it. Or would, soon enough. Olivia took a sip and tasted nothing. Her tongue had gone numb somewhere around the second hour of standing in her ill-fitting black dress, the one Marissa had handed down 3 seasons ago, the one with the torn hem Olivia had stitched herself because no one else would bother. The fabric pulled tight across her shoulders. She'd lost weight, stopped eating regularly when the family stopped pretending she mattered. "Refill, miss?" A server appeared at her elbow, white-gloved hand extending a fresh flute. Olivia shook her head. The server moved on without a second glance. That was the thing about being invisible. You could stand in a room full of hundreds and still feel like you were drowning alone. She scanned the ballroom. Oil paintings in gilded frames lined the walls. A string quartet played something classical and forgettable near the raised platform where her stepfather, Richard Vance, held court with men in custom suits and women draped in diamonds that cost more than Olivia had seen in her entire life. Marissa laughed too loud at something a silver-haired investor said, her hand resting on his forearm just long enough to be intentional. Olivia's stomach turned. She should leave, slip out through the side exit, catch a bus back to the house, lock herself in the attic room they'd given her after her mother died. But Richard had made it clear. Attendance wasn't optional. Show your face. Smile if anyone looks. Don't embarrass the family, as if she could embarrass them more than they'd already humiliated her. "Olivia Vance?" The voice came from behind her, low, controlled, with an edge that made the hairs on the back of her neck stand up. She turned. The man was tall, not abnormally so, but enough that she had to tilt her chin up to meet his eyes. Dark suit, darker eyes. His face was all sharp lines and shadows, the kind of face that didn't smile unless it wanted something. Black hair swept back from a broad forehead. No tie, just the top button of his shirt undone, like he'd walked in from somewhere more dangerous and hadn't bothered to adjust. "Yes?" Her voice came out smaller than she wanted. He didn't extend a hand, didn't offer a name, just looked at her with the kind of focus that made her feel like he could see through the cheap dress, through the skin, straight into the parts of herself she kept hidden. "You need to come with me." Olivia blinked. "Excuse me." "Now." He glanced past her shoulder toward the main entrance where 2 men in dark suits had just appeared. They weren't servers, they weren't guests. They moved with purpose, scanning the crowd methodically. Her pulse kicked up. "I don't know who you are, but—" "Luca Moretti." He said it like she should recognize the name. She didn't. "And you have about 90 seconds before those men reach you, so unless you want to have a very public conversation about the $200,000 missing from your stepfather's company accounts, I suggest you move." The floor tilted. $200,000. "I don't—" Her mouth was dry. "I didn't save it." Luca's hand closed around her elbow, not rough, but firm enough that she felt the strength in his fingers. "Walk. Don't run. Don't look back." Her feet moved before her brain caught up. He steered her along the back wall, past a cluster of guests admiring an ice sculpture, past a table laden with untouched hors d'oeuvres. The men at the entrance were closer now. One of them pointed. Luca pushed open a service door Olivia hadn't noticed. They stepped into a narrow hallway lined with industrial lighting and the smell of kitchen grease. The door swung shut behind them, muffling the music and laughter. Olivia yanked her arm free. "What the hell is going on?" Luca turned to face her fully. Up close, his eyes weren't just dark. They were black. No warmth. No reassurance. Just calculation. "You've been set up," he said flatly. Someone's been siphoning money from Vance Holdings for 6 months. They've been doing it through your employee login, your digital signature, your access codes. That's impossible. I don't have access to... You do. He pulled a phone from his pocket, tapped the screen, and held it up. She saw spreadsheets, transaction logs, her name at the top of every page, dates going back half a year, amounts that made her head swim. This isn't real. But even as she said it, she recognized the formatting. Vance Holdings used a proprietary accounting system. Only family and senior executives had login credentials. She'd been given hers 3 years ago, back when Richard first married her mother, back when he'd pretended to care. He'd called it a gesture of trust. She'd used it exactly once to check her own meager salary, and then forgotten the password. It's real enough that the FBI has a copy. Luca lowered the phone. Richard Vance filed a report this morning. He's claiming you've been embezzling to cover gambling debts. Olivia's laugh came out sharp and bitter. I've never gambled in my life. Doesn't matter. The evidence is clean, professional. Whoever built this wanted you to take the fall, and they did a thorough job. Her knees felt weak. She pressed a hand against the wall to steady herself. Why are you telling me this? Because I need something from you. Of course. There it was. Nobody helped for free. Nobody cared unless there was something in it for them. I don't have anything, she said. In case you haven't noticed, I'm the family charity case. I have about $300 in my bank account and a closet full of hand-me-downs. Luca's expression didn't change. You have a name. You have access to Richard Vance's inner circle. And most importantly, you have a reason to cooperate. Cooperate with what? With me. He stepped closer. Olivia's back hit the wall. He didn't touch her, but she could feel the heat coming off him, could smell something faintly metallic mixed with expensive cologne. Here's how this works, Luca said quietly. In about 5 minutes, those men are going to find you. They'll arrest you in front of everyone. Your stepfather will make a statement about betrayal and broken trust. Marissa will cry for the cameras. By tomorrow morning, you'll be headline news. The ungrateful stepdaughter who stole from the family that took her in. Olivia's chest tightened. She couldn't breathe right. The hallway walls pressed in. Or, Luca continued, you marry me tonight. We walk out of here together. I provide an alibi, a legal team, and enough leverage to keep you out of prison. In exchange, you play the role of my wife for as long as I need you to. She stared at him. You're insane. Probably. He checked his watch. 4 minutes. I don't even know you. You know enough. I run half the commercial real estate in this city. I have connections Richard Vance would kill for. And right now, I'm the only thing standing between you and a federal indictment. Why? The word came out as a whisper. Why would you do this? For the first time, something flickered behind his eyes. Not kindness, not sympathy. Something colder. Because appearances matter in my line of work. I need a wife, someone presentable, someone connected to old money, someone who won't ask too many questions. You need a way out. It's transactional. Transactional. Like she was a piece of property, a tool. But then again, wasn't that all she'd ever been to the Vances? Footsteps echoed from the far end of the hallway. Male voices getting closer. 3 minutes, Luca said. Olivia's mind raced. Prison. She'd seen enough crime shows to know what happened to people like her inside, people with no connections, no protection, no one who gave a damn. She'd be alone. She'd be destroyed. And for what? A crime she didn't commit, money she'd never seen. If I say yes, her voice cracked. She forced it steady. If I say yes, what happens? How long? A year. Maybe 2. Long enough to solidify certain business arrangements. After that, we divorce quietly. You walk away with enough money to start over somewhere else. And if I say no? Luca's silence was answer enough. The footsteps were closer now. Olivia could hear static, a radio. The men were talking to someone, security, police. Her hands were shaking. She pressed them flat against the wall behind her, feeling the cool plaster through her palms. Every cell in her body screamed at her to run. But where? Out the back? Into the street? She had no car, no money, nowhere to go. I need your answer, Olivia. She looked up at him, really looked, tried to see past the sharp suit and sharper eyes, tried to find something human underneath. She found nothing. But maybe that was better. Maybe nothing was safer than the false warmth her family had shown her. At least this man was honest about what he wanted. "If I do this," she said slowly, "I want your word. No surprises, no hidden clauses. You protect me from this." She gestured vaguely toward the ballroom, toward Richard and Marissa and everything that had led her to this moment. "And I play my part. That's it. You have my word." "Your word means nothing to me." A ghost of a smile touched his mouth. "Then consider it a contract. I don't break contracts." The footsteps stopped. A door opened somewhere behind them. The wrong door, maybe, but close enough that Olivia's heart slammed against her ribs. 2 minutes. She closed her eyes. Thought of her mother's grave, the one she visited alone because no one else remembered. Thought of the attic room with its single window and water-stained ceiling. Thought of Marissa's laugh and Richard's dismissive glances, and the 1,000 small cruelties that had whittled her down to nothing over the years. Thought of prison bars and orange jumpsuits and losing what little remained of herself. When she opened her eyes, Luca was watching her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay what?" "Okay, I'll marry you." He nodded once. All business. Like she'd just agreed to sign a lease, not bind her life to his. "Then we need to move." He pulled out his phone again, typed something quickly. "I have a judge waiting at my estate. We'll be legally married within the hour." "Tonight, Tonight," he said firmly. "By the time Richard realizes what happened, it'll be too late to stop it. You'll be under my protection. He won't be able to touch you." Protection. The word tasted foreign. Luca grabbed her hand, not gentle, but not cruel either, and pulled her down the hallway in the opposite direction from the approaching footsteps. They moved fast, Olivia stumbling in her cheap heels, her breath coming in short gasps. "Keep up," Luca said without looking back. They burst through another door into a loading area. Night air hit her face, cool and sharp. A black car idled near the curb, some expensive make Olivia didn't recognize. A driver stood beside it, stone-faced. Luca opened the back door and gestured for her to get in. She hesitated. "In, now." She climbed into the leather interior. Luca slid in beside her. The door shut with a heavy thunk that sounded final. "Drive," he told the man up front. The car pulled away from the curb smoothly, merging into San Francisco traffic. Through the tinted windows, Olivia watched the Fairmont's lights recede. Somewhere inside that building, Richard was probably just realizing she was gone. Marissa was probably already spinning it into another story about poor, troubled Olivia. "Let them. You'll need to sign papers when we arrive," Luca said, scrolling through his phone like this was just another business meeting. "Standard prenup. You get nothing if you break the terms early. After the agreed period, you receive a settlement, $5 million. Olivia's head snapped toward him. "What?" $5 million. That's what your cooperation is worth to me. It was more money than she'd ever dreamed of having. More money than made sense. "Why so much?" Luca glanced at her, his expression unreadable in the dim interior. "Because I don't do anything halfway, and because I need you to understand that this is a business arrangement. You're not a charity case. You're an asset. An asset, not a person. Not a wife in any real sense, just another piece on his chessboard." "What do I have to do?" she asked quietly. "As your wife. Attend events, smile for cameras, play the role of devoted partner when necessary. Live in my home, don't cause scandals." He paused. "Don't ask questions about my work." "What kind of work?" His eyes cut toward her, sharp. "The kind you don't ask questions about." "Right, of course, crime lord. That's what people called men like him, wasn't it? Men who ran empires from the shadows, who made fortunes doing things the law didn't approve of. She should be terrified. Maybe she was. Or maybe she was too numb to feel it. The car turned onto a private road lined with trees. Through the branches, Olivia caught glimpses of iron gates, high walls, old money architecture mixed with new security systems. "This is your house?" she asked. "One of them." Of course he had more than one. The car stopped in front of a massive stone manor that looked like it had been transplanted from some European countryside. Warm light spilled from tall windows. Gardens stretched into darkness on either side. Luca got out first, then offered his hand. Olivia took it because she didn't know what else to do. His palm was warm, calloused. strong. Inside, the house was exactly what she expected. Wealth without warmth. Marble floors, dark wood, art that probably cost more than most people's houses. A woman in a gray suit waited in the foyer, tablet in hand. "Judge Morrison is in the study," she said crisply. "Everything's ready." "Good." Luca turned to Olivia. "This is Elena. She'll help you with anything you need. After the ceremony, she'll show you to your room." Your room, not our room. Thank God for that, at least. Elena gave Olivia a once-over, not unkind, but assessing. "This way, Miss Vance." "It's still Vance for about 10 more minutes," Olivia muttered. Elena's lips twitched, almost a smile. "Then let's not waste them." The study was all leather and whiskey and the smell of old books. Judge Morrison turned out to be a woman in her 60s with silver hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She looked at Olivia with something that might have been pity. "You're certain about this?" the judge asked her directly. Olivia opened her mouth, closed it. Luca stood beside her, close enough that she could feel the weight of his presence. Was she certain? No, she wasn't certain of anything, but she was out of options. "Yes," she lied. The ceremony took 7 minutes. There were papers, so many papers. Olivia signed where Elena pointed, her hand shaking only slightly. Luca signed with quick, efficient strokes. The judge spoke words Olivia barely heard, something about commitment and legal union and the state of California. No rings, no kiss, no romance, just signatures and witnesses and the quiet scratch of pen on paper. "By the power vested in me," Judge Morrison said, her voice flat with routine, "I now pronounce you legally married." Olivia waited for something to feel different. Nothing did. Luca shook the judge's hand, passed her an envelope, payment, probably. The judge nodded to Olivia and left without ceremony. Just like that, it was done. "Elena will take you upstairs," Luca said, already turning toward his phone, which had buzzed twice during the proceedings. "We'll discuss expectations in the morning." "Wait!" Olivia caught his arm. He looked down at her hand, then up at her face. She let go. "What about Richard? The charges?" "I'll handle it. By tomorrow he'll have bigger problems than you." "What does that mean?" His smile was cold. "It means I keep my contracts, Mrs. Moretti." Mrs. Moretti. The name sounded wrong in her ears. "Come," Elena said gently, appearing at Olivia's elbow. "You must be exhausted." Exhausted. Terrified. Numb. All of it. Olivia let herself be led up a sweeping staircase to the second floor. The hallway stretched longer than her entire attic room back at the Vance house. Elena stopped at a door near the end. "This is yours?" she said, pushing it open. The bedroom was bigger than Olivia's whole world had been 3 hours ago. King bed with white linens. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking gardens bathed in moonlight. A sitting area with a velvet couch. Doors leading to what she assumed was a bathroom and closet. "There are clothes in the wardrobe," Elena continued. "All your size. If you need anything adjusted, let me know in the morning. Breakfast is at 8, but if you'd prefer something earlier—" "How did you know my size?" Olivia interrupted. Elena's expression didn't change. "Mr. Moretti is thorough." Right, of course he was. He'd probably known everything about her before he'd ever spoken her name in that ballroom. Her measurements, her bank account, her favorite coffee order if she'd had one. This had never been chance. He'd chosen her specifically. The thought made her skin crawl. "I'll leave you to rest," Elena said. "Lock the door if it makes you feel safer. No one will disturb you." She left, closing the door softly behind her. Olivia stood in the center of the room, still wearing the torn dress, still feeling the phantom weight of champagne in her hand. Her reflection stared back at her from a full-length mirror, pale face, dark circles under her eyes, hair falling out of the hasty bun she'd tied that morning. She looked like a ghost, felt like one too. Slowly she sank onto the edge of the bed. The mattress was soft. Too soft. She'd gotten used to the lumpy twin in the attic, the springs that dug into her back. Her phone buzzed in the small purse she'd carried. She pulled it out with shaking hands. 17 missed calls. All from Richard. 10 text messages from Marissa. "Where are you? Dad's looking for you. What did you do?" "The FBI is here. They're asking questions. If you stole that money, I swear to God, how could you do this to us?" And finally, "You're dead to this family." Olivia stared at that last message for a long time. Then she blocked the number. Blocked Richard's too, blocked every Vance in her contacts until there was no one left. She was alone. But then again, she'd always been alone. At least now she was alone in a room that didn't leak when it rained. At least now she had a name that meant something, even if that something was dangerous. She lay back on the bed, still fully dressed, and stared at the ceiling. Somewhere in this house, Luca Moretti was probably working late into the night, moving pieces on whatever board he played. Somewhere out there, Richard was spinning lies to protect himself. And here she was, married to a stranger, bound by contract instead of love. She should cry, should feel something, but all she felt was tired, so tired, her eyes closed. Tomorrow she'd figure out what she'd become. Tomorrow she'd learn the rules of this new game. Tonight, she just needed to survive. The last thought that drifted through her mind before sleep claimed her was a question she couldn't answer. Had she escaped the cage, or just traded it for a different one? The morning came too fast. Olivia woke to sunlight streaming through windows she'd forgotten to close. For a disorienting moment, she didn't remember where she was. Then it all crashed back. The ballroom, Luca's ultimatum, the hurried ceremony, the marriage. She sat up, her dress twisted uncomfortably around her body. The bedside clock read 7:43, 17 minutes until breakfast. She stumbled into the bathroom and stopped dead. It was obscene. All white marble and gold fixtures, a tub big enough to swim in, a separate glass shower, heated floors that warmed her bare feet. Towels so plush they felt sinful. She caught sight of herself in the mirror above the double vanity and winced. Mascara smudged beneath her eyes, hair matted on one side, the dress wrinkled beyond recognition. What a beautiful bride she made. There was a knock on the bedroom door. Olivia wrapped herself in one of the towels, because she'd be damned if she answered in this state, and cracked the door open. Elena stood in the hallway with a tray, coffee, toast, fruit that looked too perfect to be real. "I thought you might want something before facing the dining room," she said quietly. It was the first genuine kindness Olivia had been shown in so long that she nearly cried. "Thank you," she managed. Elena set the tray on a table near the window. "Take your time. Mr. Moretti has been in meetings since 5. He won't surface for another hour at least." Meetings. At 5 in the morning. What kind of man worked those hours? The kind who built empires, probably. "Elena," Olivia said before the woman could leave, "why are you being nice to me?" Elena paused, her hand on the doorknob. "Because you look like you need it, and because I've worked for Luca Moretti for 8 years, I've seen a lot of people come through these doors. Most of them deserve what they get." She met Olivia's eyes. "I don't think you do." Then she was gone. Olivia ate the toast mechanically, tasting nothing. Drank the coffee, black because there was no cream on the tray, and she was too proud to ask. Stared out the window at gardens that probably required a full-time staff. The wardrobe Elena had mentioned turned out to be a walk-in closet larger than her old bedroom, and it was full. Dresses, blouses, trousers, skirts, all in her size, all with the tags still on. Designer labels she recognized from Marissa's closet. She chose the simplest thing she could find. Black pants, a white silk blouse. Clothes that felt like armor. By the time she made her way downstairs, it was 8:47. Late enough to have missed the formal breakfast, early enough that Luca might still be in his meetings. The house looked different in daylight, less imposing, but no warmer. She followed the sound of voices. Elena's crisp tones, a deeper male voice she didn't recognize, and found herself in a kitchen that could have serviced a restaurant. Elena was directing 2 staff members Olivia hadn't seen the night before. They glanced at her and went very still. "Mrs. Moretti?" Elena said smoothly. "You're just in time. Mr. Moretti wanted to see you before his 10 o'clock. Mrs. Moretti. She was going to have to get used to that." "Where is he?" "Office. 3rd door on the left, past the main hall." Olivia found it easily enough. The door was ajar. She could hear Luca's voice inside, cold and precise. "I don't care what he wants. Tell him the terms stand. He has 48 hours. A pause, then, "No extensions, no negotiations." He knew what he was getting into. Olivia raised her hand to knock, then froze as she heard her own name. Olivia Vance, Moretti now, is no longer his concern. If Richard tries to contact her, remind him that I have attorneys very interested in discussing his creative accounting practices. He'll back off. Her stepfather. Luca was already moving pieces, just like he'd promised. She knocked before she could hear more. Come in. Luca sat behind a massive desk, phone pressed to his ear. He gestured for her to sit in one of the leather chairs facing him. She did, feeling like a child called to the principal's office. He finished his call, more threats delivered in that same calm voice, and set the phone down. You slept well? He asked, like they were old friends catching up. Well enough. Good, we have a busy day. Doing what? He slid a folder across the desk. First, you'll meet with my attorneys. They'll brief you on the embezzlement case. Richard has already backed down from pressing charges, but there will be questions. You need to know what to say. Which is? That you were unaware your login credentials had been compromised, that you've cooperated fully with internal investigation, that your new husband's legal team has found irregularities in the original accusation. He leaned back in his chair. You're a victim, Olivia. Act like it. The words stung, probably because they were true. What else? This afternoon, we're attending a charity luncheon. You'll be introduced as my wife. Smile. Make small talk. Don't volunteer information. About what? His eyes hardened. About anything. You're a private person. You prefer to let me handle business matters. You're adjusting to your new role. That's all anyone needs to know. A public debut. Of course, she was part of the show now. And tonight? She asked. Tonight we host a dinner party here. 20 guests, business associates mostly. You'll play hostess. I don't know how to... Elena will help you. She's very good at this. Olivia gripped the arms of her chair. You're throwing me into the deep end. You'll swim or you'll drown. Either way, I'll know if this arrangement will work. Cold. So cold. But honest, at least. One more thing, Luca said, pulling a small box from his desk drawer. He opened it to reveal 2 rings, a platinum wedding band and a diamond engagement ring so large it looked obscene. He stood, came around the desk, and held out his hand. Olivia stared at it. We need to sell this, he said quietly. People will look. Right. Appearances. She extended her left hand. It shook slightly. Luca's fingers were warm as he slid the engagement ring on, then the band. Perfect fit. Of course they were. There, he said, stepping back. Now you look the part. Olivia looked down at the rings. They caught the light, throwing sparkles across her palm, beautiful and empty. What about you? She asked. Luca pulled a simple platinum band from his pocket and slid it onto his own finger without ceremony. There. Now we both look the part. He checked his watch. The attorneys will be here in 30 minutes. Elena will bring you to the library. After that, we leave for the luncheon at noon. Wear something appropriate. Anything else? The sarcasm slipped out before she could stop it. Luca's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Amusement, maybe. Or warning. Yes, he said. Last night I told you this was transactional. I meant it. Don't expect warmth. Don't expect intimacy. Do your job, I'll do mine. We'll both get what we want. And what do you want? Olivia asked, standing to face him. Really? He looked at her for a long moment, long enough that she thought he might actually answer honestly. Then his phone buzzed. The moment broke. My 10 o'clock is early, he said, glancing at the screen. Elena's waiting for you. Dismissed. Olivia turned to leave, but paused at the door. Luca? What? Thank you for last night, for... She struggled to find words. For giving me a choice when I didn't have one. His face was unreadable. Don't thank me yet, Olivia. You don't know what you've agreed to. The way he said it made ice spread through her chest. What does that mean? But he'd already turned back to his phone, his attention elsewhere. She left the office feeling like she'd just signed a contract written in a language she couldn't read. And somewhere in the fine print was a clause that would cost her more than she'd bargained for. The attorneys turned out to be 2 men and a woman, all wearing suits that probably cost more than Olivia's car, if she'd had a car. They were efficient and ruthless, walking her through everything, the timeline of the supposed embezzlement, the evidence that had been manufactured, the holes in Richard's story that Luca's people had already found. Your stepfather made a critical error, the woman, Ms. Chen, explained. He used your credentials, but the IP addresses trace back to his office. The timestamps show transactions made while you were demonstrably elsewhere. We have security footage, receipts, witnesses. So I'm clear? Olivia asked. Legally, yes. But publicly? Ms. Chen exchanged glances with her colleagues. That's more complicated. The story's already out there. Some outlets are running with it. We'll issue statements, but mud sticks. Let it stick, Olivia said quietly. I don't care what they think. That was a lie. She cared. But she'd spent years caring what the Vances thought, what their friends thought, what strangers thought. Maybe it was time to stop. Ms. Chen smiled, small but genuine. Good. That attitude will serve you well. After they left, Elena appeared with a garment bag. For the luncheon, she said, unzipping it to reveal a dress in deep emerald silk. Simple lines, elegant cut. Mr. Moretti thought the color would suit you. Of course he'd chosen it. Probably had an entire team analyzing what colors photographed well, what styles projected the right image. Olivia touched the fabric. It was softer than anything she'd ever worn. It's beautiful. You'll be beautiful in it, Elena corrected. Now come, we need to do something about your hair. The next 2 hours passed in a blur of preparations. Elena worked efficiently. Makeup that looked natural but polished, hair swept into something sophisticated, jewelry that probably cost more than Olivia's entire life savings. When she finally looked in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. There, Elena said with satisfaction. Now you look like Luca Moretti's wife. But who was Luca Moretti's wife supposed to be? Olivia had no idea. The luncheon was held at a private club overlooking the bay. Olivia and Luca arrived together in the same black car from the night before. Cameras flashed as they stepped out. Luca's hand found the small of her back, possessive, proprietary, and guided her through the crowd. Smile, he murmured near her ear. She did. It felt like wearing a mask. Inside, the room was full of people who all seemed to know each other. Wealth recognized wealth. Power gravitated toward power. And Luca Moretti moved through it all like he owned every inch of space. Luca! A man in his 50s approached, hand extended. Heard you finally settled down. About time. Marcus. Luca shook his hand firmly. This is my wife, Olivia. Marcus turned his assessing gaze on her. Pleasure. How did you two meet? The question she'd been dreading. But Luca answered smoothly, through mutual connections. It was rather sudden, but when you know, you know. Lies delivered with the ease of practice. Marcus laughed. Young love. Well, congratulations. Your father would have been proud, Luca. Something shifted in Luca's expression. Gone in an instant, but Olivia caught it. Pain, maybe, or anger. Thank you, Luca said tightly. They moved on. More introductions, more lies. Olivia played her part, shaking hands, making small talk about nothing. Everyone wanted to know about the wedding, about how they'd met, about their plans. Luca deflected every personal question with practiced ease. Olivia learned to do the same. By the time lunch was served, her face hurt from smiling. She found herself seated between Luca and a woman who introduced herself as Catherine Vanderberg, old money, philanthropist, someone's widow. The woman spent the first course discussing her charity work, the second asking invasive questions about Olivia's family. I knew your stepfather briefly, Catherine said, sipping her wine. Difficult man. I heard there was some trouble recently. Every head at the table turned slightly. Subtle, but there. This was a test. Olivia set down her fork carefully. There was a misunderstanding. It's been resolved. A misunderstanding involving missing funds, I heard. No, Olivia said clearly. A misunderstanding involving compromised security systems and poor oversight. My husband's attorneys sorted it out. She felt Luca's approval, though his expression didn't change. Catherine's eyes narrowed. And your relationship with the Vances now? I'm a Moretti now, Olivia said simply. My relationship with my stepfather is no longer relevant. Catherine studied her for a long moment, then smiled. Good answer, my dear. Don't let them smell blood in the water. The rest of the lunch passed without incident. By the time they returned to the car, Olivia's head was pounding. You did well, Luca said as they pulled away from the curb. I lied. You played the game. There's a difference. Is there? He looked at her, really looked, for the first time all day. In my world? No, there isn't. Back at the house, Olivia had 2 hours before the dinner party. She spent them in her room, trying to process everything. The speed of it all, the strangeness. 24 hours ago, she'd been invisible. Now she was Mrs. Luca Moretti, wearing designer clothes and lying to San Francisco's elite. Elena knocked at 7 with another dress. Midnight blue this time, floor length. The guests arrive at 8, she said. You should come down by 7:45. Mr. Moretti will introduce you. The dinner party was worse than the luncheon. 20 people crowded into the formal dining room, all of them watching her, judging. Luca introduced her with his hand at her waist, his voice warm in a way she knew was performance. She shook hands, made conversation, played hostess to people who terrified her. And through it all, Luca watched. Not constantly, not obviously. But she felt his eyes on her at key moments, assessing, measuring, making sure she was worth the investment. Dinner stretched for hours, course after course, conversation that danced around topics she didn't understand. Business deals hidden in pleasantries, threats disguised as jokes. By the time the last guest left at midnight, Olivia was exhausted down to her bones. Luca walked the final couple to the door, all charm and smiles. The moment it closed, the mask dropped. Upstairs, he said. Now. Her stomach dropped. What? We need to talk. She followed him to his office. He closed the door behind them and turned to face her, his expression dark. What was that? He demanded. What was what? At dinner, James Cordova asked about your education. You told him you studied literature at Berkeley. I did. You dropped out after 2 semesters. Heat flooded her face. My mother got sick. I had to come home. So you lied. I said I studied there. I did. You implied you graduated. He assumed, don't. Luca's voice cut through her excuse like a blade. Don't let them assume. Facts only. If you embellish, if you exaggerate, someone will catch it. And when they do, it reflects on me. Shame burned in her chest, mixing with anger. I'm sorry I'm not perfect at this. It's been 1 day. I don't need perfect. I need careful. He stepped closer. Do you understand what's at stake here? People like Cordova, like Catherine Vanderberg, they're looking for weaknesses. They want to know if this marriage is real, if you're legitimate, if I made a mistake. One slip and they'll tear you apart. And when they're done with you, they'll come after me. Then maybe you should have chosen someone better suited. I chose you because you were desperate enough to agree. Don't make me regret it. The words landed like a slap. Olivia stared at him, vision blurring. She refused to cry, refused to give him that. Is that all? She asked quietly. Luca's jaw tightened. For a second, she thought she saw regret flicker across his face. But then it was gone. That's all? Get some rest. Tomorrow we're meeting with a publicist. She left without another word. In her room, she finally let the tears come. Not because he'd been cruel, she'd expected that, but because for a few hours today, wearing beautiful clothes and playing a role, she'd almost felt like she mattered. And he just reminded her that she didn't. She was an asset, a tool, a means to an end, nothing more. Olivia changed into the silk pajamas someone had left folded on her bed and crawled under the covers. Outside, the city glittered in the distance. Thousands of lights, thousands of lives, all of them more real than hers. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. This is Elena. You did better than he said. Don't let him make you feel small. E. Olivia stared at the message for a long time. Then she typed back, thank you. She set the phone aside and closed her eyes. Tomorrow would bring more tests, more performances, more chances to fail. But tonight, she was still standing, and maybe that was enough. And shock. The days that followed blurred together into a routine Olivia hadn't anticipated. Mornings started early. Luca was always gone before she woke, off to meetings or deals or whatever shadowy business consumed his time. Elena would appear with breakfast and a schedule, appointments with stylists, meetings with the publicist, charity luncheons, gallery openings. Olivia's life became a carefully curated performance. She learned quickly how to deflect questions, how to smile for cameras, how to make small talk that revealed nothing. The publicist, a sharp woman named Diane, who chain-smoked and spoke in rapid-fire sentences, drilled her relentlessly. "You're Luca Moretti's wife," Diane said during one particularly brutal session. "That means you're poised, polished, and private. No social media oversharing, no interviews without approval, no candidness, ever." "What if someone asks about my family?" "Your family is your husband now. Everything before is irrelevant." It should have felt wrong, but Olivia found it oddly freeing. The Vances were gone, erased. She didn't have to be their charity case anymore, even if she still didn't know what she was supposed to be now. A week into the marriage, Richard made one last attempt to contact her. A letter arrived at the house, forwarded from her old address. Elena brought it to her study, where Olivia had started spending her afternoons reading. She stared at the envelope for a full minute before opening it. "Olivia, I don't know what lies Moretti has told you, but you need to understand the position you've put yourself in. That man is dangerous. His family has ties to organized crime going back generations. You think you've escaped trouble? You've walked straight into worse. Come home. We'll figure this out. Marissa misses you." Richard. Olivia read it twice. Then she walked to the fireplace, struck a match, and watched the paper curl and blacken. Marissa missed her. What a joke. The ashes drifted up the chimney, and with them went the last thread connecting her to that life. That evening, Luca returned home earlier than usual. Olivia was in the sitting room off the main hall, trying to work through a novel Elena had recommended. She heard his footsteps, the low murmur of his voice speaking to someone, probably Elena. Then he appeared in the doorway. "We need to talk," he said. Her stomach tightened. Those words were never good. She set the book aside. "About what?" He came into the room, loosening his tie. He looked tired, genuinely tired, not just the controlled exhaustion he usually projected. "There's an event tomorrow night," he said. "It's important. High profile. I need you there, but more than that, I need you to understand what you're walking into." "Okay?" Luca sat across from her, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. "Do you know why I really married you, Olivia?" Her heart stuttered. "You said you needed a wife, someone presentable." "That's part of it." He met her eyes. "But there's more. My father built an empire, legal businesses mixed with less legal ones. When he died, I inherited everything, including enemies." "What kind of enemies?" "The kind who think I'm weak because I want to go legitimate. The kind who see a young man with an old name and assume I don't have the stomach for the family business." "Do you?" she asked quietly. "Have the stomach for it?" His smile was bitter. "I did what I had to do to survive, but I don't want to do it forever. I want to build something that doesn't require looking over my shoulder every day. And I fit into this how? You make me look stable, settled, like I'm planning for a future beyond the next power play. It buys me time to transition things, to move assets into legitimate channels, to prove I'm not the liability they think I am." Olivia processed this. "So I'm, what? A prop in your redemption arc? If you want to put it that way." At least he was honest. "What's tomorrow night?" she asked. "A charity gala, black tie, very public. Some of my father's old associates will be there. They'll want to meet you, to see if you're real or if this is just another move. And if they decide I'm not real?" Luca's expression darkened. "Then things get complicated." "How complicated?" He stood, walked to the window overlooking the garden. "Complicated enough that you should consider wearing the sapphire necklace, the one in the safe in your room." "There's a safe in my room?" "Behind the painting above the dresser. Code is your birthday." How did he know her birthday? She'd never told him. Of course he knew. He probably knew everything about her. "Why the sapphire?" she asked. "Because it was my mother's, and because when people see you wearing it, they'll know this isn't just a business arrangement. They'll know I'm serious about you." But he wasn't. Not really. This was all still transactional, wasn't it? "Okay," Olivia said. "I'll wear it." Luca turned from the window. "There's something else. One of the men who'll be there tomorrow, Victor Castellano. He was my father's partner. He's dangerous, Olivia. If he approaches you, be polite but brief. Don't let him isolate you." "Why would he want to?" "Because you're new, unknown, and unknowns make people like Victor nervous." Fear prickled along her spine. "What if he asks questions I can't answer?" "Then you smile and tell him he'll have to ask your husband, and you find me, immediately." The next night, Olivia stood in front of her mirror wearing a black gown that cost more than some cars and a sapphire necklace that probably cost more than most houses. Elena had outdone herself, Olivia's hair swept up, makeup dramatic but elegant. She looked like someone else entirely. Maybe that was the point. Luca appeared in her doorway, wearing a tuxedo that made him look even more dangerous than usual. "Ready?" he asked. "No." His lips twitched, almost a smile. "Good. That means you're taking this seriously." In the car, he briefed her again. Names, faces, who to trust, no one, and who to avoid, everyone. "And remember," he said as they pulled up to the venue, "you're my wife. You belong at my side. Don't let anyone make you feel otherwise." The ballroom was even more opulent than the Fairmont. Crystal everywhere, gold leaf on the walls, an orchestra playing something sweeping and classical, and everywhere eyes turning to watch them enter. Luca's hand found hers, warm, steady, and he led her into the crowd. "Mr. Moretti!" A man approached, older, gray-haired, with eyes that assessed and calculated. "What a surprise. We heard rumors, but—" "Victor," Luca's voice was cool. "This is my wife, Olivia." Victor Castellano turned his gaze on her. She felt dissected under that stare. "Mrs. Moretti," he said, taking her hand and bringing it to his lips. "Enchanting, truly. Luca, you've been holding out on us." "I value my privacy," Luca said. Of course, of course." Victor still hadn't let go of her hand. "Tell me, Olivia, where did you two meet?" The question everyone asked. The lie they'd practiced. "Through mutual friends," she said smoothly, extracting her hand. "It was quite unexpected." "Unexpected? Yes, I imagine it was." Victor's smile didn't reach his eyes. "And your family, they must be thrilled." There was something pointed in how he said it, like he knew. Like he'd done his homework too. "My family is my husband now," Olivia said, echoing what Diane had drilled into her. Victor laughed. Well said. You've chosen well, Luca. She's got spine." "I know," Luca said quietly. They moved on, but Olivia felt Victor's eyes following them through the crowd. "That went well?" she asked under her breath. "Better than expected. He was testing you. You passed." The rest of the evening was a gauntlet of similar encounters. People probing, testing, looking for cracks. Olivia held her ground, playing the role Elena and Diane had prepared her for. But by the time they returned home, she was shaking from adrenaline and exhaustion. Luca walked her to her room, a first. Usually he disappeared into his office after events. "You did well tonight," he said at her door. "I lied to dozens of people." "You protected yourself. There's a difference." She looked up at him. In the dim hallway light, his face was softer somehow, less guarded. "Luca, what happens when they figure it out? When they realize this isn't real?" He was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Who says it isn't real?" Before she could ask what he meant, he turned and walked away. Olivia stood in her doorway, heart racing, trying to decode those 4 words. Inside her room, she removed the sapphire necklace carefully and placed it back in the safe. Luca's mother's necklace. He'd given it to her to wear like it meant nothing. But it meant something. She was starting to realize that everything with Luca Moretti meant something. The question was, what? She changed into her pajamas and climbed into bed, but sleep wouldn't come. Her mind raced through the evening, through the past week, through everything that had happened since that night in the Fairmont ballroom. Somewhere in this house, Luca was probably still working, still moving pieces, still building whatever future he'd decided on. And she was part of it now. Not by choice exactly, but not entirely against her will either. Because the truth she was only starting to admit to herself, was that this life, strange and performative as it was, felt more real than anything she'd had before. At least here she mattered, even if it was only as an asset. Her phone buzzed. Elena again. "Sleep well. You earned it. Tomorrow you have the afternoon off. Thought you might want to know." An afternoon off. The concept felt foreign. Olivia typed back, "What do people do with free time?" Elena's response came quickly. "Whatever they want. Novel concept, I know." Olivia stared at those words. Whatever they want. When was the last time she'd done something just because she wanted to? She couldn't remember. Maybe it was time to find out what that felt like. But as she finally drifted toward sleep, one thought lingered. Freedom had a price. And she was only beginning to understand what Luca Moretti expected her to pay. The afternoon off turned into a lie. Olivia woke at 11, late by the standards of this house, and found Elena waiting outside her door with coffee and a carefully neutral expression. "I thought I had the day free," Olivia said, accepting the cup. "You did, until an hour ago." Elena's mouth pressed into a thin line. "Mr. Moretti needs you in his office. Now." The coffee turned bitter on Olivia's tongue. "What happened?" "He'll explain." That was never good. Olivia dressed quickly, jeans and a sweater, because if Luca wanted her presentable, he should have given her more notice, and made her way downstairs. The house felt different in daylight, without the weight of an evening event hanging over it. Quieter. Almost peaceful. Until she reached Luca's office and heard the voices. "Don't care what your excuse is. This was careless." Luca's voice, sharp enough to cut. "I'm telling you, the information was solid. Someone tipped them off." A man's voice, defensive. "We couldn't have known." "You should have known. That's what I pay you for." Olivia knocked. The conversation stopped dead. "Come in?" She pushed the door open. Luca stood behind his desk, jaw tight, eyes blazing with barely controlled fury. Across from him sat a man she didn't recognize, mid-30s, expensive suit, the kind of face that tried too hard to look trustworthy. "Olivia," Luca's voice gentled fractionally. "This is Marcus Webb. He handles certain acquisitions for me." Marcus stood, extending a hand. Olivia shook it briefly. His palm was damp. "Pleasure, Mrs. Moretti." She said nothing, just looked at Luca, waiting. "Marcus was just leaving," Luca said pointedly. Marcus gathered his briefcase with hands that shook slightly. "I'll fix this. Give me 48 hours. You have 24. After that, I'll handle it myself." The threat hung in the air like smoke. Marcus paled, nodded, and practically fled the room. The door clicked shut. Luca exhaled slowly, pressing his palms flat against the desk. For a moment he looked exhausted. Then he straightened and the mask slid back into place. "Sorry you had to see that." "What happened?" Olivia asked. "A deal went south. Property acquisition. Marcus was supposed to secure a building downtown, something I need for a project. Instead, the owner sold to someone else this morning, for considerably more than we offered. So offer more." "It's not about money." Luca moved to the window, hands shoved in his pockets. "It's about reputation. Someone wanted to send me a message. They wanted to prove I can't control my own city anymore." "Who?" He didn't answer immediately. When he spoke, his voice was careful. "Do you remember Victor Castellano? From last night?" Ice slid down Olivia's spine. "The man you told me to avoid. That's the one. He's been making moves, testing boundaries. This building, it's in a neighborhood his family used to control. By buying it out from under me, he's saying I don't belong there." "What are you going to do?" Luca turned to face her. "I'm going to remind him why my father's name still means something." The coldness in his voice made her shiver. "Why did you call me down here?" she asked. "Because Victor's going to retaliate. Not against me, against you." Her stomach dropped. "What?" "That's how men like him work. They go after what you care about. And right now, publicly, I care about you." "But you don't." "Not really." Something flickered across his face. "That doesn't matter. He thinks I do, which means you're a target." Fear coiled in her chest. "What kind of target?" "Nothing physical. Victor's too smart for that. But he'll dig. He'll look for dirt. He'll try to embarrass you, humiliate you, prove you're not worthy of the Moretti name." Luca crossed to her, his expression grave. "Olivia, I need to know. Is there anything in your past he could use? Anything you haven't told me?" She thought about her life before this. The years of being invisible. The small rebellions. A boyfriend her sophomore year that Richard had forbidden. The semester she'd nearly failed because she'd spent more time working to pay for textbooks than studying. The night she'd gotten drunk at a friend's apartment and ended up sleeping on a stranger's couch. Nothing scandalous. Nothing criminal. Just the ordinary mistakes of someone trying to survive. "No," she said. "There's nothing." Luca studied her face. "You're sure?" "I'm sure. My life wasn't interesting enough for dirt." He nodded slowly. "Good. But stay alert. If anyone approaches you with questions, reporters, private investigators, anyone you don't know, you don't engage. You call me immediately. Okay? I mean it, Olivia. Victor plays dirty. He'll make you think you're having a friendly conversation, and then he'll twist everything you say. I understand, but she didn't. Not really. How could she? A month ago, her biggest concern was whether Marissa would notice if she borrowed a dress without asking. Now she was caught in a power struggle between crime families. The absurdity of it hit her all at once. She laughed, short, sharp, almost hysterical. Luca frowned. What's funny? Nothing. Everything. She sank into one of the chairs facing his desk. I went from being nobody to being leverage in a gang war. It's insane. This isn't a gang war. Then what is it? Business. Business that requires you to threaten people and worry about retaliation. Yes. At least he didn't pretend otherwise. Olivia rubbed her temples. A headache was building behind her eyes. What do you need me to do? Keep playing your role. Be visible. Be perfect. Don't give Victor anything to work with. I'm not perfect. Then fake it. You've been doing a decent job so far. The compliment, if it even was one, felt hollow. Is that all? She asked. Luca hesitated. There's one more thing. Tonight we're having dinner with Victor and his wife. Olivia's head snapped up. What? It's already arranged, a peace offering. We sit down, we talk, we pretend everything's fine. You just said he's targeting me, which is why we need to show him you're untouchable. If we hide, we look weak. If we confront him directly, we look strong. Or we look stupid. Maybe, but it's the move we have to make. Olivia stood abruptly. You can't just keep throwing me into these situations without warning. I'm warning you now. 6 hours before. That's not a warning. That's an ambush. Welcome to my world. Luca's voice hardened. You think I get advance notice when someone tries to undermine me? You think I get to plan every crisis? This is what you signed up for. I signed up to avoid prison, not to be a pawn in your war. You're not a pawn. He moved closer, his presence filling the space between them. Pawns are expendable. You're a queen. You move however you want. You protect the king. And what are you in this metaphor? His smile was sharp. The king, obviously. Kings die all the time in chess. Not if the queen does her job. They stood there, inches apart, anger crackling in the air between them. Olivia's heart hammered against her ribs. She wanted to scream at him, to walk out, to take off these rings and throw them in his face. But she didn't, because he was right. This was what she'd signed up for. Transactional. No surprises. Except every day brought new surprises she hadn't bargained for. Fine, she said through clenched teeth. I'll have dinner with Victor. I'll smile and play nice. But after this, I want answers. About what? About everything. About who you really are. About what you're building. About why any of this matters to you. Luca's jaw tightened. You don't need to know. Yes, I do. Because if I'm going to be dragged into your battles, I deserve to know what we're fighting for. For a long moment, he just looked at her. Then slowly, he nodded. After dinner, I'll tell you what you want to know. Promise? I don't break my contracts. It wasn't the same as a promise, but it was the best she'd get. Elena dressed her for battle. That's what it felt like, anyway. The black dress was armor, structured, elegant, revealing nothing. Diamond earrings that caught the light like weapons. Hair pulled back so severely it made her eyes look fierce. You look dangerous, Elena said, stepping back to assess her work. Good. Dangerous was better than scared. And Olivia was terrified. The restaurant was the kind of place that didn't advertise. No sign outside. Just a discreet door on a quiet street and a host who knew exactly who you were before you opened your mouth. Victor Castellano and his wife were already seated when Luca and Olivia arrived. Victor stood, all false warmth and practiced charm. Luca, Olivia, so glad you could make it. His wife, Sophia, remained seated. She was beautiful in the way that required effort. Perfect hair, perfect makeup, perfect posture. Her smile was ice. Mrs. Moretti, she said, extending a hand. What a lovely dress. Olivia shook her hand. Thank you. Yours as well. Lies. Pretty lies wrapped in silk. They sat. A waiter appeared immediately with wine. some vintage Olivia didn't recognize. She let Luca order for both of them, playing the dutiful wife. "So," Victor said, swirling his glass, "marriage agrees with you, Luca. You look settled." "I am." "Surprising, given your father's views on the institution." There it was, the first jab, subtle but pointed. Luca's expression didn't change. "My father had his opinions. I have mine." Of course, of course." Victor turned to Olivia. "And you, my dear, how are you finding your new role? It must be quite an adjustment." "Every marriage is an adjustment," Olivia said carefully. "True, though I imagine yours more than most. Going from the Vance household to this—" He gestured vaguely at Luca. "Quite a change." Sophia laughed. It sounded like breaking glass. "Victor, don't interrogate the poor girl." "I'm not interrogating, I'm making conversation." Luca's hand found Olivia's under the table. A warning, or support. She couldn't tell which. "The Vances and I weren't close," Olivia said. "This is an improvement." "Oh?" Victor leaned forward, interested. "Trouble in the family?" "Nothing dramatic. We simply didn't see eye to eye." "About the money you took?" The table went silent. Olivia's heart stopped, then started again, too fast. Luca's grip on her hand tightened. That matter was resolved. A misunderstanding. Was it? Victor's smile widened. "Because I heard Richard Vance is still quite upset. Filing reports, making accusations. Doesn't sound resolved to me." "Richard Vance is a bitter man who lost control of his stepdaughter," Luca said coldly. "His opinion is irrelevant. But the FBI's isn't." The words hung there like a blade. Sophia touched her husband's arm. "Victor, this isn't—" "I'm just concerned," Victor continued, ignoring her. "Luca's married to a woman with legal troubles, questions about her character. It reflects poorly on the family. My wife's character is beyond reproach." Luca's voice could have frozen fire. "I'm sure. But appearances, Luca, you know how important they are in our line of work." Their food arrived. No one touched it. Olivia forced herself to breathe. In through her nose, out through her mouth. "Don't react. Don't give him anything." "Victor," she said, surprised by how steady her voice sounded, "I appreciate your concern. But as Luca said, the matter is closed. If you have questions about my character, you're welcome to ask me directly instead of making insinuations." Victor's eyebrows rose. "Direct. I like that." "Very well. Did you steal from your stepfather?" "No. But the evidence was fabricated by people who wanted me gone." She met his eyes. "I'm sure you understand how that works. Men with power eliminating inconvenient obstacles." A muscle twitched in Victor's jaw. Sophia cleared her throat. "Perhaps we should discuss something more pleasant? I hear you're involved in charity work, Olivia." The subject change was graceless but necessary. Olivia seized it. "Some. I'm still learning what causes matter to me." "You should speak with Catherine Vanderberg. She's always looking for new blood in her organizations." They made it through the rest of dinner talking about meaningless things. Charity galas, real estate markets, the weather. But underneath, the tension simmered. When they finally left, Olivia's hands were shaking so badly she had to clasp them together. In the car, Luca was silent for 3 blocks. Then, "You handled that well." "He accused me of being a thief, and you defended yourself perfectly." "I wanted to throw wine in his face." "I know, I'm glad you didn't." Olivia laughed bitterly. "Is this what every dinner is going to be like? People taking shots at me while you watch?" "I wasn't watching. I was ready to break his jaw if he pushed harder." She looked at him. In the dim light from passing street lamps, his face was all shadows and hard angles. "You promised me answers," she said. "I did. So talk. Tell me what I'm really part of." Luca was quiet for a long moment. Then he leaned forward and told the driver to take them somewhere other than home. They ended up at a construction site. Olivia climbed out of the car, confused, and stared at the skeletal framework of a building rising against the night sky. Cranes, scaffolding, piles of materials covered in tarps. "What is this?" she asked. "The project Marcus was supposed to secure the next phase for." Luca walked toward the fence surrounding the site. "Come on. We're not supposed to be here." "I own it." I can be wherever I want. He found a gap in this fencing and slipped through. After a moment's hesitation, Olivia followed. The sight was eerie at night, shadows and shapes and the echo of their footsteps on concrete. Luca led her to the center where the foundation had been poured, but the walls were barely started. My father built an empire on fear, Luca said, his voice carrying in the empty space. Intimidation. Violence when necessary. He was good at it, ruthless. People respected him because they were terrified of him. And you're not like that? I am. When I have to be. He turned to face her. But I don't want to be. I don't want to spend my life looking over my shoulder wondering which associate is going to put a bullet in my back. So what do you want? This. He gestured at the construction around them. Do you know what this is going to be? A building. A community center. Medical clinic on the first floor. Free legal services on the second. Meeting spaces. Programs for kids. Job training. His voice was quiet but intense. A place for people who have nothing. People the system forgot. Olivia stared at him. Why? Because I was one of those people once. Before my father made his fortune, we had nothing. I remember what it was like. And I remember the people who helped us, the clinic that treated my mother when she was sick, the lawyer who worked pro bono to keep us from being evicted. He shoved his hands in his pockets. I can't undo what my father did. Can't erase the bodies or the bribes or the corruption. But I can build something that matters, something that helps people instead of hurting them. And Victor? Men like him? They think I'm weak, sentimental. They think I'm wasting family resources on charity when I should be expanding territory. His jaw clenched. They want me to fail. To prove that going legitimate is suicide in this business. Is it? Maybe. But I have to try. Olivia walked to where a wall would eventually stand. Through the framework, she could see the city lights spreading in all directions. That's why you needed a wife, she said slowly. Not just for appearances, for legitimacy. To prove you're building a life, not just an empire. Yes. And the $5 million you promised me, that's not generosity. That's payment for selling a story. Yes. At least he was honest. Olivia turned to face him. What happens if they win? If Victor and the others force you back into the family business? Luca's expression hardened. Then I become my father, and everyone loses. The weight of it settled on her shoulders. She wasn't just playing a role, she was a linchpin in something much bigger. You should have told me this from the beginning, she said. Would you have agreed if I had? Probably not. It was too much, too complicated, too dangerous. But now she was in it, and walking away felt impossible. I need you to understand something, Luca said, closing the distance between them. This isn't just about me. The people who'll use this center, they're real. They need this. And if I fail, they lose their chance at something better. No pressure then. His mouth twitched. I know it's not fair. I know you didn't sign up to save the world. I signed up to save myself. And you did. But now you have a choice. Keep playing it safe or help me build something that matters. Olivia looked at the skeleton of the building around them. Imagined it finished. Imagined people inside. Mothers with sick children, men looking for work, kids who needed somewhere safe to exist. She thought about her own mother, who died because she couldn't afford the treatment she needed. About the years Olivia had spent invisible, unwanted, dismissed. Maybe this was bigger than survival. Maybe this was about making sure other people didn't end up where she'd been. Okay, she said. Okay? I'll help, really help. Not just smile for cameras. She met his eyes. But I need you to stop treating me like a tool. If we're doing this, we're partners. That means you tell me things. You include me in decisions. You stop throwing me into situations blind. Luca considered this. Then he extended his hand. Partners. She shook it. His grip was firm, warm. One condition, he added. What? You start training with my security team, self-defense, situational awareness. If Victor or anyone else tries something, I need to know you can handle yourself. I don't know how to fight. You'll learn. It should have felt patronizing. Instead, it felt practical. Deal. They stood there in the skeletal building, hands still clasped, and Olivia felt something shift. The transactional coldness that had defined their arrangement was still there, but underneath it, something else was forming. Trust, maybe. Or at least the beginning of it. "We should go," Luca said finally. "It's late." Back at the house, Olivia headed for the stairs, exhausted. But Luca caught her arm. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For what?" "For not running. Most people would have. I thought about it." "I know. That's why I'm thanking you." He released her arm and disappeared into his office. Olivia climbed the stairs slowly, her mind churning. In her room, she changed and lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow, she'd start training. Tomorrow, she'd begin actually being part of Luca's plan instead of just a prop in it. Tomorrow, everything would be different. But tonight, she let herself acknowledge something she'd been avoiding. She was starting to care. Not just about surviving, not just about the money waiting at the end of this arrangement. About the project. About what it could mean for people who needed it. About Luca and the man he was trying to become. It was dangerous. Caring made you vulnerable, but maybe, just this once, it was worth the risk. She was almost asleep when her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Stop asking questions. Walk away before you get hurt." Olivia sat up, heart racing. She screenshot the message and forwarded it to Luca. His reply came within seconds. "I'm coming up." 30 seconds later, he was at her door. She opened it, showing him the phone. He read the message, his expression darkening. "When did this come in?" "Just now." "Give me your phone." She handed it over. He did something with the settings, his jaw clenched. "Burner number. They'll have tossed it already." He looked up at her. "Victor's moving faster than I thought. What do I do?" "Nothing. You ignore it." He handed the phone back. "But from now on, you don't go anywhere alone, understand? Not even for coffee. My security goes with you." "Luca, I can't live like that." "You can, and you will." "This isn't a suggestion." His voice left no room for argument. Olivia sank onto the edge of her bed. "This is really happening. He's really coming after me." "Yes." Luca sat beside her, close enough that she could feel his warmth. "But he won't touch you. I won't let him." "How can you be sure?" "Because I know men like Victor. They make noise. They threaten. But they won't act unless they're certain they can win." He met her eyes. "And as long as you're with me, they can't win." It should have sounded arrogant. Instead, it sounded like a vow. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Good. Fear keeps you sharp." He stood. "Get some sleep. Tomorrow we figure out our next move." He was at the door when she called out, "Luca? Yeah? Do you ever get scared?" He turned, and for once, his expression was completely open. "Every day," he said. "Every single day." Then he was gone, and Olivia was alone with her racing thoughts and the message still glowing on her phone. Sleep didn't come easy. But when it finally did, she dreamed of buildings rising from rubble and hands reaching out for help that actually came. The next morning started with a phone call that shattered whatever fragile peace the night had built. Olivia was in the kitchen, coffee in hand, trying to pretend yesterday's threat hadn't rattled her. When Luca stormed in, phone pressed to his ear, fury radiating from every line of his body. "I don't care who approved it," he snarled. "Pull the story, now." A pause. His knuckles went white around the phone. "That's not a request, James. That's a direct order. You pull it, or I pull every dollar I've invested in your failing excuse for a newspaper." He ended the call and threw the phone onto the counter hard enough that Olivia flinched. "What happened?" she asked. Luca pulled up something on his phone and handed it to her wordlessly. It was a news article. Online edition of a local tabloid. The headline made her stomach drop. "Moretti's Mystery. Bride. From embezzlement scandal to high society." Below it, a photo of her and Luca from the charity gala. And below that, paragraphs detailing her troubled past with the Vances, the allegations, Richard's accusations. Everything presented as fact, with just enough legal hedging to avoid a lawsuit. "Victor," Olivia whispered. "Victor." Luca's voice was granite. "He leaked it. Probably paid them to run it. Can you stop it?" "I can try, but it's already out there. It'll get picked up. Spread." Olivia set the phone down carefully. Her hands wanted to shake. She wouldn't let them. "So what do we do?" We hit back. How? Luca's smile was cold and calculating. We tell our story first, control the narrative, take away his ammunition. What story? That you were a victim. That Richard Vance is a predator who abused his stepdaughter emotionally and financially for years. That you escaped and found safety with me. He looked at her. It's not far from the truth. It wasn't. But saying it publicly, laying her pain bare for strangers to consume, made her want to vomit. I don't want to be a victim, she said quietly. You won't be. You'll be a survivor. There's a difference. To you, maybe. To everyone else, I'll just be the damaged girl Luca Moretti had to rescue. Better than being the thief who married up. He had a point. Olivia paced the kitchen, thinking. Every option felt like a trap. Stay silent. Let Victor's version stand. Speak out. Become a spectacle. What if there's another way? She said slowly. Like what? What if we don't make it about me at all? What if we make it about Richard? Luca's eyes narrowed. Explain. You said your lawyers found holes in his embezzlement story. Proof that he fabricated evidence. She turned to face him. What if we leak that? Let the story be about a powerful man abusing his position, framing an innocent person. Put him on defense instead of me. That could work. Luca pulled out his phone again. But it's scorched earth, Olivia. If we do this, Richard will come at you with everything he has. Let him. I have nothing left for him to take. Something like respect flickered in Luca's expression. You're sure? I'm sure. Burn it all down. He made the call. Within 3 hours, a different story broke. Leaked documents showing IP addresses, timestamps. Security footage Olivia had never known existed. Richard Vance exposed not just as a liar, but as someone who'd systematically destroyed his stepdaughter's life. The media pivoted with the speed of sharks sensing blood. By afternoon, Olivia's phone, which she'd silenced, had 67 missed calls, most from numbers she didn't recognize. 3 from Marissa. She blocked them all. You should eat something, Elena said, appearing with a plate of food Olivia couldn't imagine tasting. I'm not hungry. Eat anyway. You'll need your strength. For what? Elena's expression was grim. For whatever comes next. What came next was Marissa. She showed up at the house at 6 p.m., somehow bypassing the gate security, pounding on the front door like she had every right to be there. Olivia heard the commotion from upstairs, raised voices, Elena's firm refusal, Marissa's shrill insistence. I'm her sister. She'll want to see me. No, she really wouldn't. But Luca appeared in Olivia's doorway. You want to handle this, or should I? Part of her wanted him to. Wanted to hide while he made Marissa disappear. But she was done hiding. I'll do it. She found Marissa in the foyer looking like a mess. Makeup smudged, hair disheveled, designer bag clutched like a weapon. When she saw Olivia descending the stairs, her face contorted with rage. You bitch, she hissed. You absolute bitch. Olivia stopped 3 steps from the bottom. High ground. Hello, Marissa. Don't hello Marissa me. Do you have any idea what you've done? Dad's career is over. Our family name is destroyed. Your family name, not mine. You were part of this family, okay? No, I wasn't. I was your servant, your punching bag, your convenient scapegoat. Olivia descended the last steps, meeting her sister's eyes. And now I'm done. Marissa's laugh was sharp and cruel. Done? You think marrying some criminal makes you better than us? I think it makes me free of you. That's enough. You're pathetic. You're nothing. And when he gets bored of you, Marissa gestured vaguely at where Luca stood in the doorway of his office, watching, you'll have nothing again. Maybe, but at least I'll have my dignity, which is more than you've ever had. Marissa lunged. It wasn't a slap. It was a full-body tackle, nails reaching for Olivia's face. But Olivia had been expecting it. Years of Marissa's tantrums had taught her the signs. She sidestepped. Marissa stumbled, caught herself on the banister. Get out, Olivia said quietly. You can't throw me out. This is my house. My husband's house. You're trespassing. Olivia's voice stayed level, but steel ran through it. Leave. Now, before I call the police and have you removed. I'll tell everyone the truth. I'll tell them you manipulated him, that you're using him. Tell them whatever you want. Nobody's listening to you anymore. Marissa's face crumpled. For a second, she looked genuinely hurt. Then the mask came back, hard, hateful. "You'll regret this," she spat. "Probably. But not as much as I regret the years I spent letting you make me feel small." Security appeared. Two men Olivia had seen around but never spoken to. Luca must have called them. "Escort Ms. Vance off the property," he said calmly. "If she returns, she'll be arrested for trespassing." Marissa let them take her arms, but her eyes stayed locked on Olivia. "You're not special," she said as they pulled her toward the door. "You're just a replacement, a placeholder. He doesn't love you. He can't. Men like him don't love anyone." The door closed on her voice. Silence flooded the foyer. Olivia's legs felt weak. She sank onto the bottom step, adrenaline crash hitting her all at once. Luca approached slowly. "You okay?" "I don't know." He sat beside her, not touching, but close. "For what it's worth, you handled that perfectly." "I wanted to hit her." "I know. I'm impressed you didn't." Olivia laughed, shaky, borderline hysterical. "Is it always going to be like this? People from my past showing up trying to drag me back?" "For a while, probably. Then they'll get bored. Move on to the next scandal." "And what about what she said? About you?" Luca was quiet for a moment. "What about it? Is it true? That you don't—" She couldn't finish the sentence. It felt too vulnerable. "I don't know," he said honestly. "I've never tried. Love was never part of my father's world. It was weakness, liability, something to be avoided." "And you? What do you think?" He looked at her then, really looked, like he was trying to figure her out. "I think," he said slowly, "that I'm starting to understand why someone might risk it." Before Olivia could process that, his phone rang. He answered it, listened, and his whole body went rigid. "When?" Pause. "I'm on my way." He stood abruptly. "I have to go." "What happened?" "The construction site. Someone vandalized it, set fire to the supplies." Olivia's heart sank. "Victor?" "Probably. I don't know yet." He was already moving toward the door. "Stay here. Don't leave the house." "Luca?" "I mean it, Olivia. Not even the garden." Then he was gone, and she was alone in the too big house with her too big thoughts and the echo of Marissa's words. "He doesn't love you. He can't." Maybe that was true. Maybe it didn't matter. Or maybe, terrifyingly, it was starting to. She went upstairs, changed into workout clothes, and found the gym Elena had shown her days ago. If she couldn't leave the house, she could at least burn off the anxiety eating her alive. She was on the treadmill running hard enough to make her lungs scream when the lights went out. Complete darkness. Olivia stumbled, caught the handrails, killed the machine. Her breath sounded too loud in the sudden silence. "Elena?" she called out. Nothing. Her phone was upstairs. Stupid. She'd left it charging. She felt her way off the treadmill, hands outstretched. The gym was in the basement level, no windows. Without lights, it was a tomb. A sound behind her. Footsteps. "Elena, if that's you, this isn't funny." The footsteps stopped. Olivia's heart hammered. She backed toward where she thought the door was, hands searching for the wall. "Security?" Her voice cracked. More footsteps. Closer now. She ran, slammed into the door frame, felt for the handle, yanked it open. The hallway beyond was just as dark. She sprinted blindly, one hand on the wall, trying to remember the layout. Stairs were to the left? Or right? God, why hadn't she paid better attention? Behind her, the footsteps matched her pace. She found the stairs by tripping over the bottom step. Pain lanced through her shin, but she scrambled up anyway, using hands and feet, animal panic taking over. The main floor should have lights, emergency backups. Something. It didn't. Olivia ran toward where she thought the front door was. Her shoulder hit a corner. She ricocheted, kept moving. A hand grabbed her arm. She screamed, "Olivia, stop!" Elena's voice. Thank God, Elena's voice. "What's happening?" Olivia gasped. "Power's out. Whole house. Security's checking it now." "Someone was following me. No one's here but us. The house is locked down. You probably heard me coming to find you." Maybe. Maybe she'd panicked over nothing. Or maybe not. Elena led her toward a window where moonlight provided some visibility. She had a flashlight, which she flicked on. Where's Mr. Moretti? Elena asked. The construction site. Someone burned it. Elena swore, soft but vicious. Of course they did. What does that mean? It means this isn't random. They're sending a message. Who? But Elena didn't answer because the lights came back on all at once, flooding the house with harsh brightness that made Olivia's eyes water. And standing in the doorway of the main hall was a man Olivia had never seen before. Mid-50s, expensive suit, cold eyes that cataloged her like she was an asset to be appraised. Mrs. Moretti, he said with a smile that didn't reach those eyes. We need to talk. Elena stepped between them instantly. Sir, you need to leave. This is private property. I'm Marcus Del Rio. Victor sent me. Of course he did. Then you can tell Victor, Olivia said, forcing her voice steady, that my husband will speak with him directly. I don't negotiate with messengers. Marcus's smile widened. Smart, beautiful. I see why Luca chose you. Get out. In a moment. First, I need you to understand something. He pulled an envelope from his jacket and set it on the hall table. Victor doesn't want war. He wants cooperation. That envelope contains a very generous offer. You convince your husband to accept it, and all of this, he gestured vaguely, goes away. The fires, the threats, the media campaigns. Or it gets worse, much worse, for both of you. Elena had her phone out, probably calling security, but Marcus wasn't moving. You should also know, he continued, that your stepfather has been very forthcoming about your character, the real story, not the sanitized version you're selling. Olivia's blood ran cold. There is no real story, isn't there? The affair with your mother's doctor while she was dying, the theft from her medical fund, the... Stop. None of it was true, but it didn't have to be. Lies spread faster than truth. Just read the offer, Marcus said. Think about what matters more, pride or survival. Security flooded in, 4 men, hands on weapons Olivia hoped they wouldn't use. Marcus raised his hands, still smiling. I'm leaving, no trouble. They escorted him out. Olivia stood frozen, Elena's hand on her shoulder, the only thing keeping her upright. It's all lies, she whispered. I know. But people will believe them. Some will. Luca will. Luca will know they're lies. He's not stupid. But what if he didn't? What if doubt crept in? What if Victor's poison worked? Olivia picked up the envelope with shaking hands and tore it open. Inside was a contract, absurdly formal, clauses and subclauses, and at the bottom a number that made her head spin. $10 million. All she had to do was disappear. Divorce. Luca quietly, sign an NDA, vanish. $10 million to walk away from a marriage that had never been real anyway. It should have been tempting. It wasn't. Where's Mr. Moretti? She asked Elena. Still at the site. Signal's probably bad. I need to talk to him. Now. Elena made the call. It took 3 tries before Luca answered, his voice tight with stress. Olivia, what's wrong? Victor sent someone. Marcus Del Rio. He left an offer. What kind of offer? She told him. The money. The lies he'd threatened to spread. The choice she was being given. When she finished, the silence on the other end stretched so long she thought he'd hung up. Luca? I'm here. His voice was different, harder. Don't sign anything. Don't talk to anyone. I'm coming back. The fire can wait. You can't. He ended the call. Olivia sank onto the stairs, the envelope still in her hand. $10 million. Freedom. A chance to start over somewhere Victor and Luca, and all of this couldn't touch her. But it would mean abandoning the community center, the project, the people who needed it. It would mean proving Victor right, that she was exactly what he thought. A mercenary, a gold digger, someone with no loyalty and no spine. And it would mean leaving Luca to fight this battle alone. She thought about the man who'd stood in the skeleton of his father's legacy and talked about building something better. The man who'd been honest about the darkness in his past, but was actually trying, to be something more than what he'd been born into. The man who'd given her a choice when she had none, even if his motives had been selfish. He wasn't perfect. He was cold and calculating and probably dangerous in ways she hadn't yet seen. But he was trying, and maybe that mattered. Olivia stood, walked to the fireplace in the sitting room, and fed Victor's offer to the flames. "Mrs. Moretti?" Elena appeared in the doorway. "What are you doing?" "Making a choice," Olivia said, watching the paper curl and blacken. The money turned to ash. And when Luca came home 20 minutes later, soot-stained and furious, she met him in the foyer with 2 words. "I'm staying." He stopped, stared at her. "Victor offered you an out." "I know. $10 million. "I know. And you're staying." "I'm staying." Something shifted in his expression. The mask cracked, just for a second, and she saw something underneath she couldn't name. "Why?" he asked. Olivia thought about all the reasons she could give. The project, the principle, the desire to prove Victor wrong. But the truth was simpler and more complicated than any of that. "Because you need me," she said, "and maybe I need this too." Luca crossed the space between them in 3 strides. For a wild second, she thought he might kiss her. Instead, he took her hands, carefully, like she was something precious. "Then we end this," he said. "Together. No more playing defense. We go after Victor with everything we have." "What does that mean?" His smile was sharp and dangerous. "It means we stop being the victims in his game. We become the players." "I don't know how—" "I'll teach you, starting now." He led her to his office, pulled out files she'd never seen, and spent the next 3 hours showing her exactly how empires were built and destroyed. And Olivia realized she wasn't drowning anymore. She was learning to swim. Or maybe more accurately, she was learning to fight. And God help anyone who got in her way. The night stretched into morning, and by the time dawn broke over San Francisco, Olivia Moretti knew exactly what she had to do. The point of no return had come and gone. There was only forward now, and she was done running. The war against Victor Castellanos started quietly. Too quietly. Olivia should have known something was wrong from the beginning. Should have recognized that victories earned too easily were never real victories at all. But she'd been drunk on purpose, on finally mattering, on the heat of Luca's mouth against hers in the dark hours when strategy gave way to something far more dangerous. So she missed the signs. They all did. The first domino fell exactly as planned. The inspector showed up at Victor's port warehouse at 6 a.m. with a warrant and enough federal backing to make the whole operation legitimate. By noon, 3 shipping containers had been impounded. Their contents, luxury cars with VIN numbers filed off, designer goods without import documentation, and 1 container of pharmaceuticals that definitely weren't FDA approved, cataloged as evidence. Victor's lawyers descended within the hour, but the damage was done. His shipping operation ground to a halt. Millions in merchandise stuck in legal limbo. Luca received the news in his office, Olivia sitting across from him. His smile was sharp and satisfied. "One down," he said. "How long before he realizes it was you?" Olivia asked. "He already knows, but he can't prove it. That's the beauty of using legitimate channels. Everything's by the book." The second domino fell 2 days later. The permits for Victor's luxury condo conversion were officially denied. Historic preservation concerns, the letter said. Structural integrity questions. Environmental impact reviews needed. All bureaucratic nonsense that would take years to untangle. Victor's investment sat dead in the water, hemorrhaging money on a property he couldn't develop. "Two down," Luca said that night over dinner. They'd started eating together, this new routine that felt almost domestic if you ignored the armed guards outside and the files full of criminal enterprise spread across the table between them. "He'll retaliate," Olivia said. "Soon. Let him, we're 3 steps ahead." The third domino was Olivia's idea. She'd spent hours researching Sofia Castellanos' charity foundation, cross-referencing donation records with Victor's known business associates. The pattern was obvious once you knew what to look for: large donations from shell corporations, money disappearing into administrative costs, grants going to organizations that existed only on paper. Classic money laundering dressed up in charity's clothing. Olivia compiled everything into a clean, detailed report and sent it anonymously to the IRS, the State Attorney General's office, and 3 investigative journalists known for exposing financial crimes. Within a week, Sofia's foundation was under audit. The society pages that had once praised her philanthropy now questioned where the money really went. 3 down, Olivia said, watching the news coverage with something like satisfaction burning in her chest. Luca came up behind her, his hands settling on her shoulders. You're good at this. Is that a compliment or a concern? Both. He pressed a kiss to the top of her head. Casual intimacy that had developed between them over the past 2 weeks. They hadn't defined what they were doing, hadn't discussed the line they'd crossed. Just let it exist in the spaces between strategy sessions and stolen moments in the dark. It should have worried her more than it did. Victor's going to strike back, she said, leaning into his touch. Hard. We've humiliated him publicly, destroyed 3 major revenue streams, exposed his wife to federal investigation. I know. So what do? We wait, stay alert, be ready. But ready for what exactly? The answer came 5 days later, and it came from a direction Olivia never saw coming. She was in the library, her favorite room in the house, full of books and afternoon light, when Elena appeared in the doorway. Her face was ashen. Mrs. Moretti, there's someone here to see you. Who? Richard Vance. The name hit like a fist to the gut. Olivia stood so quickly her chair scraped against the floor. What is he doing here? He says it's urgent. He says... Elena hesitated. He says it's about your mother. Cold washed through Olivia's veins. Her mother had been dead for 6 years. What could Richard possibly... Where's Luca? In the city. A meeting. He won't be back for 2 hours. Of course. Richard had probably waited for exactly this moment. Tell him I'll see him in the sitting room, not alone. You stay with me. Elena nodded, her hand moving to her pocket where Olivia knew she kept a panic button. Richard Vance looked older than Olivia remembered. Thinner, gray at the temples, lines around his mouth that spoke of stress and sleepless nights. He stood when she entered, and the practiced smile he attempted didn't reach his eyes. Olivia, thank you for seeing me. I didn't have much choice, did I? You show up at my house making claims about my dead mother. She stayed near the door, every muscle tense. Say what you came to say and leave. Richard's smile faded. Still angry, I understand. What I did, framing you for the embezzlement, it was wrong. I was desperate. The company was failing and I needed... I don't care what you needed. You tried to send me to prison. I know, and I'm sorry, truly. He took a step toward her. Olivia took a step back. But that's not why I'm here. I'm here because I owe you the truth. About your mother. About how she really died. Olivia's breath caught. She had cancer, pancreatic. She died because she couldn't afford the experimental treatment that might have saved her. That's what I told you. It's not the whole truth. What are you talking about? Richard pulled an envelope from his jacket pocket. Old, yellowed with age. Your mother did have cancer, but there was money for treatment. A lot of money. From a settlement she received years ago before we married. She'd set it aside specifically for medical emergencies. Olivia's hands started shaking. That's not possible. She would have used it. She tried to, but the money was gone. Stolen. By someone she trusted. Richard held out the envelope. Read it. Bank statements. Transfer records. It's all there. Olivia snatched the envelope with hands that wouldn't stay steady. Inside were documents, financial records, emails, transaction histories. Her eyes scanned them, not wanting to believe, desperately hoping she was misunderstanding. But the truth was there in black and white. $300,000. Her mother's emergency fund. Transferred out over a period of 6 months, 2 years before her diagnosis. Transferred to accounts owned by Moretti Holdings. The room spun. Olivia grabbed the back of a chair to keep from falling. No, she whispered. No, this is fake. You fabricated this. I didn't. I wish I had. Richard's voice was gentle, too gentle. I found these papers in your mother's things after she died. She knew. She knew someone had stolen from her, but she never said anything, never fought back. I think... He paused. I think she was protecting you. From what? From them. From the Morettis. Your mother knew Antonio Moretti. Luca's father. They had history. Before me. Before you. The world tilted on its axis. What kind of history? I don't know all of it. She wouldn't talk about it. But I know Antonio Moretti had access to her accounts. Know he took that money. And I know... Richard's voice dropped. I know that when your mother got sick, when she was dying, she made me promise never to tell you, made me swear I'd keep you away from that family. You're lying. But Olivia's voice cracked on the words. This is some scheme. You and Victor, you planned this. Victor Castellano came to me 2 days ago, offered me money to stay silent, offered me a lot of money. Richard met her eyes. I said no. Because whatever else I am, whatever mistakes I've made, I loved your mother. And she would want you to know the truth about the people you're trusting. Olivia couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The documents in her hands felt like they weighed 1,000 pounds. Get out, she said. Olivia, get out now. Richard didn't argue. He left the envelope on the table and walked out, Elena escorting him to the door. The moment he was gone, Olivia collapsed into the chair, staring at the papers spread before her. It had to be fake, had to be some elaborate forgery. But something cold and sick in her gut whispered that it wasn't. She pulled out her phone with shaking hands and called Luca. It went to voicemail. She tried again, and again, and again. No answer. Elena returned, her expression worried. Mrs. Moretti, are you all right? I need you to verify something. Olivia held up one of the bank statements. These account numbers. Can you check if they're real? They actually belong to Moretti Holdings? Elena took the paper, her frown deepening as she read. I can try, but I'll need to access Mr. Moretti's private financial records. That requires. I don't care what it requires. Do it. 20 minutes later, Elena returned. Her face told Olivia everything before she said a word. The accounts are real, Elena said quietly. They belong to Antonio Moretti. He closed them in 2019, a year before he died. And the transfers? Are those real too? Elena's silence was answer enough. Olivia stood, her whole body numb. Did Luca know about his father stealing from my mother? I don't know. Mr. Moretti doesn't discuss his father's business with me. But it's possible. Mrs. Moretti, is it possible? Olivia's voice rose, sharp and desperate. Elena's shoulders sagged. Yes, it's possible. The room felt too small, too hot. Olivia needed air, needed space, needed to not be standing in a house built with money that might have been stolen from her dying mother. She ran, out of the sitting room, through the hallway, toward the front door. Elena called after her, but Olivia didn't stop. Couldn't stop. Security tried to intercept her at the door. She pushed past them, ignoring their protests, ignoring the protocols Luca had put in place. She made it to the garden before the nausea hit. She bent over the fountain, retching, though nothing came up. Her whole body shook with the force of it. This couldn't be real, couldn't be true. Luca wouldn't have known. He couldn't have. He'd offered her marriage, offered her safety, offered her a partnership. He wouldn't have done that if he'd known his father had destroyed her mother. Would he? But the doubt had taken root, and doubt, once planted, was impossible to kill. She heard footsteps behind her, heavy, male. Mrs. Moretti, you need to come inside. It's not safe. I don't care. Please. Mr. Moretti will... Mr. Moretti can go to hell. The guard didn't know how to respond to that. He stood there, awkward, while Olivia tried to remember how to breathe. Her phone rang, Luca's name on the screen. She answered, her voice cold. Where were you? In a meeting. I saw your calls. What's wrong? Richard was here. Silence, then, what did he want? To tell me the truth about my mother, about your father. Another pause, longer this time. When Luca spoke, his voice was carefully controlled. What did he tell you? That your father stole $300,000 from her, money she needed for cancer treatment, money that might have saved her life. Olivia's voice shook. Is it true? Olivia, is it true? She heard him take a breath. Yes. The world stopped. Everything, every moment since that night in the Fairmont ballroom, every touch, every kiss, every whispered promise, shattered into jagged pieces that cut on the way down. Did you know? She asked. When you asked me to marry you, did you know what your father had done? Yes. The single word destroyed her. You knew. You knew your father killed my mother, and you still... She couldn't finish, couldn't form words around the rage and betrayal choking her. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. She was screaming now, not caring who heard. Your father stole from my mother. She died because she couldn't afford treatment. And you knew. You knew, and you married me anyway. Olivia, listen to me. Why? Why did you marry me? Was this some kind of sick penance? Did you think you could fix what your father did by giving me a contract and some money? No, I married you because I needed ikaku to o ipoan. You needed a wife, a prop, someone to make you look legitimate while you laundered blood money through community centers and charity work. Her laugh came out broken. God, I'm such an idiot. Marissa was right. You don't care about me. You can't. I'm just another transaction to you. That's not true. Then what am I, Luca? What am I really? He was quiet for so long she thought he'd hung up. When he finally spoke, his voice was raw. You're the one thing I wasn't supposed to care about. The words hit like a slap. What does that mean? It means this was supposed to be simple. A marriage of convenience. You get protection, I get legitimacy. Clean, transactional, no complications. She heard something that might have been a bitter laugh. But then you had to be brave and smart, and you had to actually give a damn about the project, about the people we're trying to help. You had to make me... He stopped. Make you what? Feel things I've spent my entire adult life avoiding. Olivia closed her eyes. Tears burned hot against her lids. That doesn't fix this. That doesn't change what your father did. What you knew and hid from me. I know. I can't, her voice cracked. I can't be here right now. I can't look at you knowing what I know. Olivia, please, let me explain. Let me come home and we'll... No, I'm leaving. You can't. Victor's still out there. You're not safe. I don't care. The words ripped out of her. I don't care if I'm safe. I care that you lied to me. I care that you let me fall for you while hiding the fact that your family destroyed mine. You fell for me? His voice was quiet, almost hopeful. Don't you dare use that against me. I'm not. He took a breath. I'm coming home. Don't leave. Please. Just wait until I get there and we'll talk. Really talk. I'll tell you everything. There's nothing left to say. She hung up. The guard was still standing there, uncertain. Olivia walked past him, back into the house, straight to her room. Her real room, the one with windows, not the bunker Luca had moved her to. She pulled a bag from the closet and started throwing clothes into it. Not the designer pieces Elena had selected, just the few things that were actually hers. The old sweater from college, jeans with worn knees, her mother's necklace, the only piece of jewelry she'd kept from before. Elena appeared in the doorway. Mrs. Moretti, please don't do this. I have to. Mr. Moretti cares about you. Whatever his father did, his father stole from my mother. She died because of that theft, and Luca knew. He knew, and he used me anyway. Maybe he had reasons. Maybe there's no good reason for what he did. Olivia zipped the bag. I'm leaving. You can tell Luca... She stopped. Tell him the contract's void. I'll sign whatever papers he needs, but I'm done. Where will you go? Good question. She had no money, no car, nowhere safe from Victor's reach. But she couldn't stay here. Not in this house built with blood money. Not with a man who'd hidden the truth about her mother's death. I'll figure it out. She pushed past Elena, down the stairs toward the front door. This time, no one tried to stop her. She made it halfway down the driveway before the car pulled up. Black. Expensive. Familiar. Luca. He was out of the vehicle before it fully stopped, his expression carved from desperation and something that looked almost like fear. Olivia, stop. Get out of my way. Not until you listen. I'm done listening to you. He stepped in front of her, blocking her path. My father was a monster. I know that. I've spent years trying to atone for the things he did, the lives he ruined. Your mother, his voice caught. Your mother was one of many, and when I found out who you were, when I saw your name in Richard's files, I knew I should stay away, should leave you alone. But you didn't. No, because I thought, he ran a hand through his hair. I thought if I could help you, if I could give you a life your mother never had, maybe it would balance things out. Maybe I could fix just one of the things my father broke. I'm not a charity case. I know. You never were. That's what I figured out too late. He took a step closer. You were supposed to be a prop, a temporary wife for appearances. But then you started actually caring, started fighting, started making me believe that maybe I could actually build something good instead of just paying lip service to redemption. That doesn't excuse the lying. I know, but please, Olivia, please don't leave, not like this. Not when Victor's still out there, when leaving puts you directly in his crosshairs. Maybe I'll take his offer, $10 million. Seems like a fair price for being used. Luca's jaw clenched. You're not being used. Not anymore. This stopped being fake the moment you... He cut himself off. The moment I what? The moment I fell in love with you. The words hung in the air between them, impossible and terrifying and too late. Olivia laughed, sharp and broken. No, you don't get to say that now. You don't get to claim love after lying to me for weeks. I'm not claiming anything. I'm stating a fact. I love you. I don't know when it happened. Don't know how, but I do. And I know you feel something for me too, or you wouldn't be this angry. Of course I'm angry. She didn't get to finish because the gunshot cut through her words like a knife. The sound came from behind her, from the street beyond the gates. Luca's expression changed instantly, from desperate to lethal in half a second. Get down! He grabbed her, pulling her toward the ground as more gunshots erupted. Glass shattered. Bullets tore through the air where they'd been standing. Olivia's ears rang. Her heart slammed against her ribs. Luca's body covered hers, protecting her, as chaos exploded around them. Security poured out of the house. Returning fire. Tires screamed. Voices shouted. The world became noise and violence and terror. It felt like forever. It was probably 30 seconds. When the shooting stopped, Luca lifted his head cautiously. Blood ran down his temple from where shattered glass had cut him. Are you hurt? He asked. Olivia could barely hear him over the ringing in her ears. She shook her head. He pulled her to her feet and half-dragged, half-carried her toward the house. Security surrounded them, weapons drawn, eyes scanning for additional threats. Inside, Elena was already on the phone with someone. Police, probably, or Luca's private security team. Luca pushed Olivia into a chair and crouched in front of her, his hands framing her face. Look at me. Are you hurt? Any pain? I'm fine. Her hands were shaking so badly she couldn't control them. What was that? Victor, finally making his move. He tried to kill us. He tried to send a message. If he'd wanted us dead, we would be. Luca's expression was grim. This was a warning. Next time won't be. The reality of it crashed over Olivia. She'd been about to walk out of this house, alone, unprotected. If Luca hadn't stopped her, if she'd made it to the street, she would be dead. The thought made her stomach turn. I need to call this in, Luca said, standing. Get every resource I have tracking down the shooters. Elena will stay with you. Don't move. Don't go near windows. Understand? Olivia nodded numbly. He started to leave, then turned back. For what it's worth, I meant what I said about loving you. I know you don't believe me. I know I've given you no reason to, but it's true. Then he was gone, barking orders into his phone, and Olivia was alone with Elena and her thoughts, and the sound of gunshots still echoing in her ears. Her bag sat on the floor where she'd dropped it, all her belongings, everything she'd thought she needed to start over. It seemed pathetic now. Because Luca was right. Leaving wasn't an option, not with Victor hunting her, not when stepping outside these walls meant death. She was trapped, in a house built with blood money, with a man who loved her but had lied to her, fighting a war she hadn't chosen but couldn't escape. And the worst part, the part that made her want to scream, was that despite everything, despite the lies and the betrayal and the dead mother whose ghost stood between them, some traitorous part of her still cared about Luca Moretti. Maybe even loved him back, which made her either the bravest or stupidest woman alive. The next hours passed in a blur of police statements and security debriefings. Luca's people swept the grounds. The bullets had come from a vehicle that sped away before anyone could get a plate number. Professional, clean, untraceable. Victor's signature. By midnight, the house had settled into an uneasy quiet. Olivia sat in the library, the one room that still felt safe, trying to process everything. The door opened. Luca stood there, looking exhausted. "Can I come in?" She nodded. He sat across from her, maintaining distance. We found the shooter's position, analyzed the trajectory. They were aiming for the car, not for us specifically. Warning shots, like I thought. How reassuring. Olivia, I don't want to talk about your father, or my mother, or any of it. She met his eyes. But I need to know one thing. When did you find out? About the connection between your father and my mother. 3 days before I approached you at the Fairmont. So recent. So calculated. Did you seek me out because of it? Was this whole thing some guilt-driven? No. I sought you out because Richard had already flagged you as a potential scapegoat for his embezzlement. You were vulnerable, available, exactly what I needed for the marriage arrangement. He leaned forward. I didn't learn about my father and your mother until I had my people do a deep background check. By then, I'd already decided to approach you. Learning the truth just complicated things. Why didn't you tell me? Because I was a coward. Because I knew if you found out, you'd look at me exactly the way you're looking at me now, like I'm contaminated by my father's sins. His voice dropped. And you'd be right. I am. Everything I touch is poisoned by what he did, including you. Don't. Olivia stood, pacing. Don't make yourself the victim here. You had choices. You could have told me the truth, could have given me the option to decide whether I wanted to be part of this. Would you have stayed if I had? Honest question, deserved an honest answer. I don't know, she admitted. Maybe not. Probably not. Then I made the choice for you, for selfish reasons, because I needed you here. He stood too, closing the distance between them. I know that's not good enough. No, it doesn't fix anything, but it's the truth. They stood inches apart, the air between them heavy with everything unsaid. I hate you, Olivia whispered. I know. I hate that you lied. Hate that your father killed my mother. Hate that I'm stuck here because leaving means dying. I know. And I hate that despite all of that, I still... She stopped, the words too dangerous to say. Still what? She looked up at him, saw her own pain reflected in his eyes. Still wish things were different. His hand came up, hovering near her face, but not touching. They can be, if you let them. How? How do we move past this? I don't know. But I'd like to try, if you're willing. Olivia closed her eyes. Every rational part of her screamed to say no, to maintain distance, to protect what was left of her heart. But the irrational part, the part that had fallen for him despite every reason not to, wanted to say yes. I need time, she said finally. I need to process this. All of it. The lies, the truth, what it means. Take all the time you need. And I need you to promise, no more secrets, no more hiding things to protect me. If we're doing this, if we're trying to make this work, I need complete honesty. You have it, I swear. She opened her eyes. Okay, then tell me the full truth about Victor. Not the sanitized version, the real one. What does he want? Why is he doing this? Luca's jaw tightened. You're not going to like it. I haven't liked anything about the past month. Tell me anyway. He took a breath. Victor doesn't just want to destroy my business interests. He wants me dead. Has wanted it since my father died and I inherited instead of letting Victor take over. This war we're fighting, it's not about property or money or reputation. It's about survival, his or mine. Only one of us walks away from this. And the community center, my involvement, makes me look weak to him, sentimental. He thinks attacking you will break me, make me vulnerable, and Luca's voice cracked slightly. He's not wrong. You're my weakness now, the thing he can use against me. Then maybe I should leave. Take Victor's offer. Get out of the crossfire. No. The word came out harsh, desperate. You leave, you die. Victor doesn't let loose ends survive. He'll take his money back and put a bullet in you the moment you're no longer useful. How do you know? Because it's what I would do. The casual admission should have horrified her. Instead, it was almost a relief. At least he was being honest. So what do we do? She asked. We end this, permanently, before Victor gets another chance to strike. How? Luca's smile was cold and calculating. We give him what he thinks he wants, and then we burn his whole world down. Explain. He did. Over the next hour, he laid out a plan so ruthless, so complete in its destruction, that Olivia felt sick listening to it. But it would work. God help them both. It would actually work. When do we start? She asked when he finished. Tomorrow. But Olivia, once we do this, there's no going back. Victor will know it was us, and he'll come after us with everything he has. I thought he was already doing that. He's been playing. This will be war. She thought about her mother, about the money stolen, about the life that might have been if Antonio Moretti hadn't been a monster. Thought about Luca, complicated, dangerous, damaged Luca, and the impossible thing growing between them. Then let's go to war, she said. His eyes searched hers. You're sure? No, but I'm doing it anyway. Something like respect, maybe even love, flickered across his face. Together? He asked. Together. He pulled her close, and she let him, burying her face against his chest and breathing in the scent of him, smoke and expensive cologne and something uniquely Luca. I'm sorry, he whispered against her hair. For all of it. For what my father did. For lying. For dragging you into this nightmare. I know. I love you. I know you don't want to hear it, but I need to say it. I love you, Olivia. The words should have felt manipulative, should have felt like just another tool in his arsenal. Instead, they felt true. I don't know if I can say it back yet, she admitted, not while this is all still so raw. I know. I'm not asking you to. They stood like that for a long time, holding each other while sirens wailed in the distance and the city burned through another night of violence they'd helped orchestrate. And Olivia realized something that made her chest ache. She'd become someone she didn't recognize, someone who planned wars and plotted destruction, someone who could stand in the arms of a man whose father had killed her mother and feel safe, someone who'd crossed so many lines she couldn't see her way back to who she'd been. The girl from the attic was dead. In her place stood someone harder, sharper, dangerous, a Moretti. And the most terrifying part was that she didn't hate who she'd become. She just hoped it would be enough to survive what came next. The next morning started with a phone call that changed everything. Luca answered it in his office, Olivia sitting across from him reviewing the files they'd need for the day's operations. She watched his expression shift from focused to shocked to something she'd never seen before. Fear. When? He asked, his voice tight. How many? A pause. Lock down everything. No one in or out. I'm on my way. He ended the call and stood, his movements sharp and controlled. What happened? Olivia asked. The community center. Someone broke in last night, set fire to the whole building. Her stomach dropped. How bad? Total loss. Everything's gone. Victor? Has to be. But that's not... He stopped, his jaw clenching. They left a body. One of my security guards, shot execution style. Oh, God. We need to go, Luca said. Now, the police will have questions. They drove in silence, Olivia's mind racing. This was escalation beyond anything they'd anticipated. Victor wasn't just destroying property anymore, he was killing people. The construction site looked like a war zone, fire trucks, police cars, yellow tape everywhere. The skeleton of the building everything Luca had worked for was now a blackened shell, and in the center, covered by a white sheet, was the outline of a body. Luca spoke with the detectives, gave statements, maintained his composure even as his life's work smoldered in front of him. Olivia stood back, watching, her heart breaking for him. This was her fault. If she hadn't pushed so hard against Victor, if she hadn't been so visible, so aggressive. Mrs. Moretti? She turned. A detective she didn't recognize stood there, notepad in hand. Yes? I need to ask you some questions about your whereabouts last night. My whereabouts? I was home. All night. Why? The detective's expression was carefully neutral. And can anyone verify that? Of course. My husband, the security team. Elena. What is this about? We received an anonymous tip. Someone claiming you were seen near the site around the time of the fire. The world tilted. That's impossible. I was home. I never left. Security footage from a traffic camera 3 blocks from here shows a woman matching your description driving past around 2 a.m. That wasn't me. I don't even have a car. The vehicle was registered to Moretti Holdings. Same make and model as the one your husband's company owns. Olivia's breath stopped. This was a setup. Victor was framing her for the arson, for the murder. I didn't do this, she said, her voice rising. Someone's trying to… Ma'am, I'm going to need you to come with me, just for questioning. No, this is insane, Luca! She called for him desperately. He was already moving toward them, his expression dark. What's going on? Mr. Moretti, I need to take your wife in for questioning regarding last night's fire and the death of… Absolutely not. She was with me all night. She had nothing to do with this. Can you prove that? Luca hesitated just for a second, but it was enough. Because the truth was, he'd been in his office all night, working alone. And Olivia had been in her room, also alone. There were no witnesses, no alibi, just enough reasonable doubt for Victor's frame job to work. This is ridiculous, Luca said, his voice hard. She has no motive, no reason to… Oh, actually, Mr. Moretti, we've been looking into your wife's background, her history with the Vance family, the embezzlement charges that were dropped, the media exposure that followed. The detective looked at Olivia. Seems like someone with a pattern of legal trouble, someone who might be trying to sabotage her husband's legitimate business ventures. That's insane! Or someone who's working with outside interests to destroy those ventures. We've been investigating possible connections between Mrs. Moretti and Victor Castellano. Olivia's vision went dark around the edges. This wasn't just a frame job. This was complete character assassination. Victor had planted evidence, built a narrative, made it look like she was the one sabotaging Luca from the inside. I want a lawyer, she said, her voice barely steady. That's your right, but you're still coming with us. The detective moved to take her arm. Luca stepped between them. Touch her, and you'll regret it. Mr. Moretti, don't make this worse. Call Marcus Chen, Luca said to someone behind him. Probably Elena. Tell him to meet us at the station, and get every attorney on retainer ready to move. Then he looked at Olivia, his eyes full of fury and helplessness. Don't say anything, not a word. Wait for the lawyers. She nodded, numb. They took her in handcuffs, put her in the back of a police car like she was a criminal. And as they drove away from the burning wreckage of everything Luca had built, Olivia realized something that made her want to scream. Victor had won. He'd destroyed the project, killed Luca's employee, and framed her so perfectly that even if she proved her innocence, the suspicion would linger forever. She'd become exactly what Marissa had accused her of being, a liability, a weakness, the thing that would destroy Luca Moretti. And there was nothing she could do to stop it. The interrogation room was exactly like the movies. Gray walls, metal table, mirror that was obviously two-way glass, a single chair that was just uncomfortable enough to keep you off balance. Olivia sat in it for 3 hours before the lawyers arrived. The detectives tried to question her. She said nothing, just repeated the same 4 words. I want my lawyer. When Marcus Chen finally appeared, flanked by 2 associates and looking like he'd descended from heaven specifically to destroy people, Olivia almost cried with relief. Don't say a word, he instructed, setting his briefcase on the table. Not a single word. I'll handle this. What followed was a masterclass in legal warfare. Marcus tore through the prosecution's case like it was tissue paper, demanded to see the traffic camera footage, which, when examined closely, showed a woman in a similar coat but with different hair, different build, different everything. Pointed out that the vehicle in question had been reported stolen from Moretti Holdings 2 days prior, a report that was on file with the police. Demonstrated that Olivia's phone had been connected to the house Wi-Fi all night, proving she never left. Produced security footage from the house showing her entering her room at 11 p.m. and not emerging until 8 a.m. By hour 5, the detective's confidence had evaporated. By hour 6, Marcus was threatening to sue the department for harassment and wrongful arrest. By hour 7, they released her. No charges, no evidence, just an apology that sounded hollow and a warning to stay available for further questions. Luca was waiting outside the station. The moment Olivia walked out, he pulled her into his arms so tightly she could barely breathe. I'm sorry, he said into her hair. I'm so sorry. I should have protected you better. Should have seen this coming. It's not your fault. It is. Victor's targeting you because of me, because you matter to me. I made you a liability. She pulled back to look at him. His face was haggard, eyes red-rimmed. When did you last sleep? I don't remember. Doesn't matter. Are you okay? I'm fine. Scared, angry, but fine. Marcus appeared beside them. We need to move. Press is gathering. The story's about to explode. He was right. News vans were already pulling up, cameras turning toward them. They made it to the car and sped away before the reporters could mob them. In the back seat, Olivia finally let herself shake. He almost did it, she whispered. Victor almost put me in prison. But he didn't, Luca said fiercely. And he won't. I'll make sure of it. How? He's always 3 steps ahead. We destroy his business. He murders someone and frames me. We can't win this, Luca. He's too entrenched, too powerful. No one's untouchable. He is. And as long as I'm with you, I'm a target. Maybe I should... Don't. His hand found hers, gripping tight. Don't say you should leave. Don't even think it. But if I'm the weakness he's exploiting, then we use that. Make him think he's won. Make him think you're breaking under the pressure. And when he gets comfortable, when he thinks he's safe, we strike. Olivia looked at him. What are you planning? His smile was cold and deadly. Everything. That night, they put the plan in motion. Luca and Olivia staged a very public fight. Screaming, accusations, her leaving the house with bags, him not stopping her. The press ate it up. Moretti marriage. In crisis. The headlines screamed, Embezzlement suspect flees questioning inside the fall of Olivia Moretti. It was humiliating, degrading. Every tabloid in the city ran photos of her looking devastated. But it was necessary, because while the world thought she was running, while Victor thought he'd broken them, Olivia was actually moving into a safe house Luca owned under a different name. And from there, they were going to dismantle Victor Castellano piece by piece, starting with the one thing he cared about more than power, his family. Are you sure about this? Olivia asked 3 days into the plan. They were in the safe house, a nondescript apartment in a building Luca owned, watching surveillance footage of Victor's home. No, Luca admitted, but it's the only move left. The plan was simple in theory, nightmarish in execution. They were going to expose Sofia Castellano's charity fraud so thoroughly, so publicly, that she'd face federal prison time. And when Victor moved to protect her, because he would, because for all his monstrosity he genuinely loved his wife, they'd use that opening to destroy everything else he'd built. He'll know it was us, Olivia said. Let him. By the time he figures it out, it'll be too late. The files went to the FBI at midnight. By dawn, federal agents were at Sofia's door with a warrant. By noon, she was being perp-walked in front of cameras, her perfect composure finally cracking. And by evening, Victor Castellano called Luca's private line. Luca put it on speaker so Olivia could hear. You son of a bitch, Victor's voice was pure venom. You went after my wife. You went after mine first. I'm just returning the favor. She had nothing to do with our business, said. Neither did Olivia, yet you tried to frame her for murder. Silence. Heavy and dangerous. This is war now, Victor said finally. No more games, no more surgical strikes. I'm going to burn your whole life to the ground. Everything you love, everyone you care about. And I'm going to make you watch. Looking forward to it. Luca hung up. Olivia stared at him. He's going to kill us. Probably, but we'll take him with us. The certainty in his voice should have been comforting. It wasn't, because Olivia was starting to realize something terrible. There was no winning this war, only surviving it, and even that wasn't guaranteed. The next 72 hours were a blur of legal maneuvers and media storms. Sofia's arrest dominated the news. Federal prosecutors announced they were seeking maximum penalties, 20 years for fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy. Victor disappeared from public view. That should have been a relief. It was actually more terrifying, because Victor in hiding meant Victor planning something big. Olivia spent the days in the safe house reviewing documents, coordinating with Marcus Chen's team, giving depositions to clear her name in the arson case. The nights she spent with Luca. They didn't talk about the future. Didn't discuss what happened after the war ended, if it ever ended. Just held each other in the dark and pretended tomorrow might not bring death. On the fourth day, Elena called. "You need to see this," she said, her voice tight. She sent a link. Olivia opened it and felt her blood turn to ice. It was a video, posted to every major social media platform an hour ago. And it showed her mother, alive, talking, recorded 20 years ago, judging by the clothes and hairstyle. Her mother sat across from someone off camera. The audio was clear. "Antonio and I had an arrangement. I knew what he was, knew the business he was in, and I accepted money from him anyway, for years. Hundreds of thousands of dollars." The camera voice, male, unfamiliar, asked, "Did your daughter know?" "No, and she never can. I don't want her anywhere near that world. Promise me, Antonio. Promise me you'll keep her safe from all of this." "I promise." The video ended. Olivia couldn't breathe. Her mother had known Antonio Moretti, had taken money from him willingly, had been in his world by choice. Everything she'd believed about her mother, about her innocence, about being a victim, was a lie. Luca appeared beside her, reading over her shoulder. His face went pale. "Olivia, don't." Her voice sounded distant, broken. "Just don't. This doesn't change anything. It changes everything." She stood, pacing. "My mother took blood money. She knew what your father was, and she didn't care. And all this time I thought—" Her laugh came out hysterical. "I thought she was a victim. Thought your father destroyed her. But she was part of it, part of his world. She was trying to protect you." "By lying? By building my entire childhood on a foundation of lies?" "Yes, because that's what parents do. They protect their children from ugly truths." Olivia turned on him. "Like you protected me? By hiding what you knew?" "That's different." "It's not. It's the exact same thing. Everyone in my life has lied to me, manipulated me, used me. My mother, Richard, you, even Elena probably has secrets she's keeping." "Olivia, please. I need air." "You can't leave. It's not safe." "I don't care." She grabbed her coat and headed for the door. Luca moved to stop her, but something in her expression made him step back. "5 minutes," she said. "I just need 5 minutes alone." He looked like he wanted to argue. Instead, he nodded. "Stay within sight of the building. I'll watch from the window." She took the stairs down, emerged onto the street, and walked. The city moved around her, people living normal lives, unaware of the war being waged in the shadows. She envied them, their ignorance. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "I'm sorry you had to find out this way. Your mother was a good woman caught in a bad situation. She loved you more than anything." "A friend?" Olivia stared at it. Who would? Another text. "If you want the whole truth about your mother and Antonio Moretti, meet me at the address below. Come alone. I can explain everything." An address followed, a cafe 3 blocks away. Every instinct screamed trap. But Olivia was done living in ignorance, done being protected from truth. She wanted answers, real ones. She started walking toward the cafe before she could talk herself out of it. Made it half a block before a car pulled up beside her. The window rolled down. Victor Castellanos sat in the back seat, smiling. "Hello, Olivia. Get in. We need to talk." "No." "I wasn't asking." 2 men got out of the car, large, armed, not cops. Olivia reached for her phone. One of them grabbed her wrist, hard enough to hurt, and twisted it behind her back. "Don't make this difficult," Victor said calmly. "All I want is a conversation, 30 minutes. Then you can go back to hiding." They forced her into the car. As they drove away, Olivia saw Luca burst onto the street from the building entrance, phone to his ear, face twisted with panic. Their eyes met for just a second. Then the car turned a corner and he disappeared from view. And Olivia realized with crystal clarity she was going to die. Victor was going to kill her, and there was nothing Luca could do to stop it. The point of no return hadn't been agreeing to marry Luca. It hadn't been falling in love with him. It was this moment, right now. When everything she'd fought for was about to end in a car driven by a monster who smiled while he destroyed lives. And the last thought that went through her mind before fear swallowed everything else. I should have told Luca I loved him, while I still had the chance. The car smelled like leather and expensive cologne and death. Olivia's wrists throbbed where the man had grabbed her. She sat between 2 bodyguards built like walls, their presence making the back seat feel like a coffin. Victor sat across from her, perfectly composed, a slight smile playing at his lips. "You're wondering if I'm going to kill you," he said conversationally. Olivia said nothing. Her heart slammed against her ribs so hard she thought it might crack bone. The answer is, not yet. Not if you cooperate. He adjusted his cufflinks, casual, like they were discussing weather. "I need you to deliver a message to your husband. He'll never negotiate with you." "He will. For you." Victor's smile widened. He's made that abundantly clear. The way he looks at you, the way he tears apart anyone who threatens you. You're his weakness, Olivia, his fatal flaw, and I'm going to use that to destroy him. The car turned into an industrial area. Abandoned warehouses, empty streets, no witnesses. Olivia's breath came faster. She tried to slow it, tried to maintain control, but panic clawed at her throat. "What do you want?" she managed. "Everything. His legitimate businesses, his properties, his offshore accounts, all of it transferred to me by end of business tomorrow." Victor leaned forward. "In exchange, I let you live. I drop all charges against my wife. We call this war finished and go our separate ways." "He'll never agree to that. You'd leave him with nothing." "Exactly, which is why you're going to convince him. You're going to tell him that if he doesn't comply, I'll send you back to him in pieces. One finger at a time." Victor's voice stayed pleasant, conversational. "Do you understand what I'm telling you?" She understood perfectly. He was going to torture her until Luca surrendered everything. The car stopped outside a warehouse. Victor's men dragged her out. She tried to fight, kicked, scratched, screamed, but they were professionals. They had her restrained and inside the building within 30 seconds. The interior was exactly what she expected. Concrete floors stained with things she didn't want to identify. Metal chairs bolted to the ground. Implements hanging on walls that turned her stomach. This was where Victor brought people who needed to disappear. They shoved her into one of the chairs, zip-tied her wrists and ankles so tight the plastic cut into skin. One of the men backhanded her hard enough that her vision went white. "That's for Sophia," he said. Blood filled her mouth. She spat it onto the floor. Victor pulled up another chair sitting across from her like they were having coffee. "I'm going to call Luca now. You're going to tell him exactly what I told you. If you deviate from the script, if you try to warn him or send some coded message, Marcus here," he gestured to the man who'd hit her, "will break your fingers. All of them. Then we'll move to other parts. Do you understand?" Olivia's mind raced. She needed to buy time. Needed to figure out how to warn Luca without getting herself killed. "I understand," she said. Victor dialed. Put the phone on speaker. It rang once. Twice. Luca answered before the third ring, his voice ragged. "Where is she?" "Safe. For now. I'm going to let you talk to her. Confirm she's alive. Then we're going to discuss terms." He held the phone toward Olivia. She could hear Luca breathing, fast, panicked, barely controlled. "Olivia, are you hurt?" "I'm okay." Her voice cracked. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have left. It's not your fault. Listen to me. Whatever he wants, I'll give it to him. Just stay calm. Stay alive. I'm coming for you." "How touching," Victor said, taking the phone back. "Now let's talk business. You have 12 hours to transfer everything I want. Property deeds, account numbers, corporate shares, all of it. I'll send you a list. And if I don't, then I start taking pieces of your wife. And I'll make sure you hear her screaming while I do it." Silence on the other end. Olivia could almost hear Luca's mind working, calculating odds, looking for angles. "I need proof she's alive," Luca said finally. "Something current, not just her voice." Victor smiled. He nodded to Marcus, who pulled out a phone and took a photo of Olivia, bloodied, bound, terrified. "Sending it now," Victor said. "You have until noon tomorrow. After that, negotiations end badly." He hung up. Olivia's whole body shook. She couldn't stop it, couldn't control the fear flooding every nerve. "Good girl," Victor said, standing. "You followed instructions. That buys you a few hours of peace." He checked his watch. "I have business to attend to. Marcus and his friend will keep you company. Behave, and you might see tomorrow." He left. The two men stayed. Marcus pulled out a knife, not threatening, just maintenance. He started cleaning under his nails with the blade, his eyes never leaving Olivia. Comfortable? He asked. She didn't answer. Moretti's not going to give up everything for you. You know that, right? He's a businessman. He'll calculate the cost-benefit, decide you're not worth it. You don't know him. I know men like him. Power matters more than people. Always has. Always will. Marcus inspected the blade. When he doesn't pay, when Victor tells me to start cutting, I want you to remember, this is on him. Not us. Him. The other man laughed. She really thinks he loves her. Look at her face. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. Won't matter when she's bleeding out. Olivia closed her eyes. Tried to think. Tried to plan. The zip ties were industrial strength. No breaking them. The chair was bolted down. No tipping it. The men were armed and alert. No overpowering them. She was trapped. Completely, utterly trapped. Hours crawled past. The men rotated watch. One would leave, the other would stay. They brought in food, fast food bags, and ate in front of her without offering anything. Her wrists bled where the zip ties cut. Her face swelled where Marcus had hit her. Her mouth tasted like copper in fear. She thought about Luca, about whether he'd actually surrender everything for her, about whether she wanted him to. If he gave Victor what he wanted, he'd have nothing left. No business, no money, no power to protect himself. He'd be dead within a week, but if he didn't, she'd die. There was no good choice, no win scenario, just different flavors of losing. Around what she guessed was 3 a.m., no windows, no clock, just her internal sense of time, her phone buzzed in Marcus's pocket. He pulled it out, read the screen, smiled. Your husband wants to talk to you, show you he's complying. He answered, put it on speaker. She's listening. Olivia? Luca's voice sounded wrecked. I'm doing what he asked. Transferring everything. It's going to take time, moving that much money, that many assets, but it's happening. Don't. The word ripped out of her. Don't do it. Victor will kill us both anyway. Marcus backhanded her again. Her head snapped sideways, blood sprayed. Touch her again and I'll skin you alive, Luca said, his voice pure murder. Then stop making her give me reasons, Marcus replied. She needs to learn to follow instructions. Olivia, listen to me, Luca's voice gentled. I'm getting you out, I promise. Just hold on. Can you do that? She wanted to say yes, wanted to believe him, but she'd seen what Victor could do, seen the methodical brutality of his world. Luca couldn't save her. Not from this. I love you, she said instead. I should have said it before. I love you. Silence. Then, I love you too. And I'm coming for you. That's a promise. Marcus ended the call. He looked at Olivia with something like pity. He can't save you, you know that. Maybe, but he'll try. And get himself killed in the process. Real love story. Marcus checked his own phone. Victor wants me to send proof you're still breathing. Smile for the camera. He took another photo. Olivia didn't smile. Just stared at the lens with all the hatred she could muster. Defiant. I like that. Makes breaking you more satisfying. The second man, quiet until now, spoke up. Boss says to move her. Different location. Moretti might try something. Marcus nodded. Get the car. They cut her zip ties but kept her hands bound with rope, dragged her to her feet. Her legs barely worked after hours in the chair. She stumbled. They didn't care. Outside, dawn was breaking. Gray light filtered through the clouds. The air tasted like rain and exhaust. A different car this time. Black SUV, tinted windows. They shoved her in the back. They were halfway to the new location when everything went wrong. The first shot came through the windshield. The driver's head exploded. Blood sprayed everywhere. The car swerved violently. Marcus screamed something, reached for his gun. Another shot. The window beside him shattered. He ducked. The SUV crashed into a parked car. Metal shrieked. Airbags deployed. Olivia's head slammed against the seat in front of her. Her vision swam. Her ears rang. She tasted blood. Someone yanked open her door. Strong hands grabbed her, pulled her out. She tried to fight, couldn't. Her body wouldn't obey. Olivia, stop, it's me. Luca's voice. She blinked, focused. His face swam into view, dirt-streaked, bloody, furious. Can you walk? I don't know. Try. He cut the ropes around her wrists. She collapsed against him. He caught her, half carrying, half dragging her toward another vehicle. Gunshots erupted behind them. Marcus had recovered, was returning fire. Luca shoved Olivia into the passenger seat of a nondescript sedan, climbed into the driver's side, floored it. Bullets punched through the trunk. The rear window exploded. Olivia ducked, covered her head, prayed. Luca drove like a man possessed, through red lights, wrong way down one-way streets, onto the highway going 90 miles an hour. They made it 5 miles before Olivia's brain started working again. How did you find me? Tracked your phone. Marcus was sloppy, left it active. Luca's hands were white-knuckled on the wheel. Are you hurt? Did they... I'm okay, bruised, scared, but okay. I'm going to kill him. Victor, Marcus, all of them. Where are we going? Somewhere safe. I have a place. Off the grid. We'll regroup. Figure out next moves. Luca, he has your entire empire. You gave him... I gave him nothing. Those transfers were fake. Dummy accounts, paperwork that looks real but leads nowhere. He glanced at her. You think I'd actually surrender? To him? Relief and terror mixed in her chest. He'll know. When the transfers don't clear, let him. By the time he figures it out, we'll be ready. Ready for what? His smile was sharp and deadly. Endgame. The safe place turned out to be a cabin in the mountains, 2 hours outside the city. No neighbors, no cell service, just woods and silence. Elena was there waiting. She pulled Olivia into a hug the moment they walked in. Thank God, we thought... Her voice broke. I'm okay. You're not. You look like hell. Come on, let's get you cleaned up. Elena led her to a bathroom while Luca made calls on a satellite phone. Under the fluorescent light, Olivia finally saw the damage. Split lip, blackening eye, bruises around her wrists, cuts and scrapes everywhere. She looked like she'd been in a war. Maybe because she had. Elena worked efficiently, cleaning wounds, applying bandages, giving her painkillers and water. What's the plan? Olivia asked. I don't know. Mr. Moretti's been coordinating something. He's had people in position for days. What kind of people? Elena's expression was grim. The kind who do things lawyers can't. Right, of course. Luca appeared in the doorway. I need to talk to Olivia. Alone. Elena nodded and left. He sat on the edge of the tub, studying Olivia's battered face. His jaw clenched. I should have protected you better. You saved my life, after putting it in danger in the first place. He reached out, his fingers barely brushing her bruised cheek. This ends tonight, Victor. His organization, all of it. How? I've been planning for this since the day my father died. Had contingencies in place. People loyal to me embedded in Victor's operation. Resources he doesn't know about. Luca's eyes met hers. I'm going to burn his world down. Completely. No coming back. That'll start a war. A real one. People will die. People have already died. My security guard. Your mother, indirectly. How many others? He stood. I'm done playing by rules Victor ignores. Tonight, we end this my way. What do you need from me? I need you to stay here. Stay safe. Let me handle... No. Olivia, no. I'm done being protected. Done being the victim everyone saves. I want in. She stood to face him despite the pain. He hurt me, tortured me, used me. I deserve to be there when he falls. Luca looked like he wanted to argue, but something in her expression stopped him. You understand what you're asking? This won't be clean, won't be legal. We're talking about killing people. I understand. You won't be able to go back, won't be able to claim ignorance or innocence. I stopped being innocent the moment I married you. His smile was sad. Maybe you were never innocent. Maybe that's why I fell for you. He kissed her then, gentle, despite the violence surrounding them, tasting her blood and tears and fury. When they broke apart, he rested his forehead against hers. Tonight changes everything. Win or lose, nothing will ever be the same. I know. We could run instead. Take the money I've hidden offshore. Disappear. Let Victor think he won. Could you live with that? Really? He pulled back, met her eyes. No. Neither could I. Then we end this together. Together. The next hours were a blur of preparation. Luca's people arrived, men and women Olivia had never seen. They brought weapons, surveillance equipment, body armor. This wasn't just a plan, it was an assault. Luca spread maps across a table. Victor's house, his business headquarters, his known safe houses. We hit them simultaneously, he explained to the assembled team. No warning, no mercy. By the time Victor realizes what's happening, it'll be over. What about Sophia? Someone asked. She's still under house arrest. She stays there. This isn't about her. She's already lost everything that matters. The team reviewed assignments, entry points, timelines, contingencies if things went wrong. Olivia listened, absorbing it all. Her role was simple. Stay with Luca, watch his back, don't hesitate. She could do that, she would do that. As darkness fell, they geared up. Kevlar vests under dark clothing, earpieces for communication. Weapons. Olivia held a gun for the first time in her life. It felt heavy, wrong. Luca showed her the basics. Safety here. Aim center mass. Squeeze, don't pull. You'll only get one good shot, so make it count. I don't know if I can shoot someone. You won't have to. You're backup. Last resort. But if it's you or them, I'll shoot. He kissed her forehead. Stay close to me, no matter what happens. They moved out at midnight. 3 teams, 3 targets, coordinated down to the second. Luca and Olivia went after Victor himself. The car ride to his estate was silent. Olivia's heart hammered. Her palms sweated. She wiped them on her pants for the 10th time. Second thoughts? Luca asked quietly. Hundreds, but I'm still going. Good girl. They parked a quarter-mile from Victor's house, moved through the woods on foot. 4 others with them, professionals who moved like ghosts. The estate appeared through the trees, lights blazing, guards patrolling, security cameras everywhere. Luca's people had already hacked the system. The cameras showed looped footage from an hour ago. The guards were about to have a very bad night. The first guard went down silently. A dart to the neck. Tranquilizer. He crumpled without a sound. The second didn't get so lucky. He spotted them. Reached for his radio. One of Luca's men shot him. Suppressed pistol. Barely a whisper. The guard dropped. Blood pooled. Olivia's stomach turned. She forced herself to look. To not turn away. This was the reality of the world she'd entered. Not strategy sessions and legal maneuvers. Blood and death. They breached the house through a side entrance. Alarms should have sounded. Nothing. Luca's tech people had done their job. Inside, the house was elegant. Art on walls, expensive furniture, the kind of place that looked civilized while housing a monster. They moved through hallways, cleared rooms, found staff, maids, a chef, and zip-tied them in a pantry. Not threats, just collateral. Victor's office was upstairs, behind a reinforced door. One of Luca's men placed a small charge. They stacked up on either side. The charge blew. The door buckled inward. They flowed through. Victor sat behind his desk, not surprised, not panicked, almost like he'd been waiting. Luca, I wondered when you'd show up. He stood slowly, hands visible. And you brought your pet. How domestic. It's over, Victor. Your operation's being dismantled as we speak. Your people are surrendering or dying. You've lost. Have I? Victor smiled. You think I didn't plan for this? Didn't have contingencies? He pressed something under his desk. Nothing happened. Looking for your backup? Luca asked. They're not coming. I own them now. Better pay. Better benefits. They switched sides hours ago. For the first time, fear flickered across Victor's face. What do you want? Money? Territory? Name your price. I don't want anything from you. I want you gone. You can't kill me. Too many people watching. Too many consequences. I'm not going to kill you. Luca pulled out his phone, showed Victor the screen. I'm going to destroy you. See this? Federal agents, IRS, SEC. They're all very interested in your records. The ones my people just uploaded to their databases. You're bluffing. Am I? Check your accounts, your offshore holdings, your shell corporations. They're all frozen, seized. Evidence in about 50 different ongoing investigations. Victor grabbed his own phone. His fingers shook as he typed. His face went white. You son of a bitch. I'm my father's son. He taught me well. Luca stepped closer. You're done. No money. No power. No friends. Just federal charges that'll put you away for life. Sophia, we'll be fine. I made sure her deal's separate. She cooperates. She gets minimum security. 5 years instead of 20. She'll survive. Victor collapsed into his chair. The fight drained out of him. Why not just kill me? Make it clean? Because death is too easy. I want you to rot. Want you to spend decades in a cell thinking about everything you lost, everyone who betrayed you, every mistake you made. Luca pulled out zip ties, bound Victor's wrists behind his back. Federal agents are 10 minutes out. You'll be arrested, processed, shipped off to wherever they keep people like you. He leaned in close. And every day you're inside, I want you to remember this happened because you threatened my wife, because you made this personal. He stepped back, gestured to his team. They dragged Victor out. The man didn't resist, just stared at Olivia with hatred so pure it should have burned. You did this, he said. You destroyed me. No, Olivia replied. You destroyed yourself. I just helped. They left him on the front lawn for the federal agents. Disappeared back into the night before the sirens arrived. In the car, Olivia finally let herself shake. It's done, Luca said. It's really done. The others? Check-ins coming through now. Both teams successful. Victor's entire operation is finished. Olivia closed her eyes, felt tears slip down her cheeks. They'd won. Against impossible odds, with everything stacked against them, they'd actually won. What happens now? She asked. Now we disappear for a while. Let the authorities sort through Victor's empire. Let the dust settle. Luca's hand found hers. Then we rebuild. The community center, the legitimate businesses. Everything we wanted. Together? If you'll have me. She opened her eyes. Looked at this man who'd dragged her into hell and fought beside her to get out. I love you, she said. Even though you're a liar. Even though your father killed my mother. Even though you're probably still keeping secrets I don't know about. I love you. I love you too. And I swear, no more secrets, no more lies. From this moment on, complete honesty. Promise? Promise. He kissed her as the city lights faded behind them. They drove through the night toward whatever future waited. Scarred, damaged, bloodied, but alive. And together. And maybe that was enough. The cabin felt different when they returned. Lighter, somehow. Like the weight that had been pressing down on them for months had finally lifted. Elena met them with news. Victor had been formally arrested. Sophia had accepted her plea deal. The FBI had seized everything. The war was officially over. What about us? Olivia asked. Are we clear? Legally? Yes. You were victims, witnesses. The prosecutors want statements, but they're not pursuing charges. Elena smiled. You're free. Free. The word felt foreign. Olivia hadn't been free in so long she'd forgotten what it felt like. That night, she and Luca sat on the cabin's porch, watching stars emerge overhead. The silence was peaceful. No gunshots. No threats. No fear. What are you thinking? Luca asked. That I can't believe we survived. Me either. There were so many moments when... He stopped. When I thought I'd lost you. But you didn't. But I almost did. And that scares me more than anything Victor could have done. Olivia turned to face him. What scares you? Losing you. Not to violence or kidnapping or any of that. Just losing you. You realizing what you've tied yourself to and walking away. I'm not going anywhere. You say that now, but when the adrenaline fades, when you really understand what being with me means, I already understand, and I'm still here. He pulled her close. She rested her head on his shoulder, breathing in the scent of him, smoke and pine, and something uniquely Luca. Marry me, he said suddenly. We're already married. For real this time. No contract. No terms. Just us. Choosing each other. Olivia pulled back to look at him. Are you serious? Completely. I want to do this right. Proper proposal. Ring you actually picked. Wedding where we mean the vows. His eyes searched hers. I want to marry you, Olivia. Not because I need a wife or because it's strategic, but because I can't imagine my life without you. She kissed him, long and deep and full of everything she couldn't put into words. When they broke apart, she smiled. Yes, I'll marry you again. For real this time. Yeah? Yeah. He laughed, genuine and surprised, and so full of joy it made her heart ache. They sat there for hours, talking about the future, about the community center they'd rebuild, about going legitimate completely, about maybe, someday, having a life that didn't revolve around survival. As dawn approached, Olivia felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Real, genuine hope that tomorrow might actually be better than today. It was terrifying. It was beautiful. It was theirs. 3 days later, they returned to the city. The media circus had died down. Victor's arrest dominated headlines, but Olivia and Luca were footnotes, victims who'd helped bring down a criminal empire. The narrative Luca's publicity team had crafted held. They were heroes, not criminals. The community center site was still a ruin, but standing there looking at the charred remains, Luca smiled. We'll build it back, bigger, better. Make it what it was always supposed to be. How long will that take? Years, probably, but we have time now. Olivia thought about time, about how much they'd wasted fighting when they could have been living. Let's not wait, she said. For what? For the wedding, for the life we want. Let's start now, today, this moment. Luca turned to her. You're serious? Completely. We've spent months preparing for war. Maybe it's time to prepare for peace instead. He kissed her there among the ruins of their first dream, and Olivia knew with absolute certainty they would build something beautiful from the ashes. They would create a life worth living. They would survive. Together. The epilogue of their war was just the beginning of their story, and this time they were writing it themselves. No contracts, no terms, no obligations, just love. Complicated, messy, hard-won love. And that was enough. More than enough. It was everything. 6 months later, the groundbreaking ceremony for the new community center drew hundreds of people. Press coverage was overwhelmingly positive. Luca gave a speech about second chances and building futures. Olivia stood beside him, his hand in hers, wearing a simple diamond ring they'd chosen together. She looked out at the crowd and saw faces full of hope. People who needed this center, who would benefit from what she and Luca were building. And she understood finally what her mother had been trying to protect her from. Not the violence, not the danger, the weight of responsibility that came with power, the burden of knowing you could help people and choosing to do it even when it cost everything. Her mother had failed, had taken money and stayed silent, had protected herself instead of fighting. But Olivia wouldn't. She'd fight. She'd build. She'd use whatever power she had to make things better. Not because she was noble or heroic, but because she'd been powerless once, invisible, forgotten. And she never wanted anyone else to feel that way. After the ceremony, Elena pulled her aside. Mrs. Moretti, someone wants to see you. Who? Elena gestured toward a woman standing near the edge of the crowd, mid-40s, elegant. Familiar in a way Olivia couldn't place, she approached cautiously. The woman smiled. Olivia, you don't know me, but I knew your mother. Olivia's breath caught. How? We were friends. Before Antonio. Before everything. The woman held out a hand. My name is Catherine Vanderberg, the philanthropist from the charity luncheon, the one who'd tested Olivia with questions about her family. Why are you telling me this? Because your mother asked me to look out for you. If anything ever happened to her, if you ever found yourself in Antonio Moretti's world. Catherine's eyes were kind. She knew what she was getting into, knew the risks, but she loved you more than anything. Everything she did, taking the money, staying silent, protecting you from the truth, it was all to keep you safe. Tears burned Olivia's eyes. She failed. I ended up here anyway. Did she? You're alive, strong, building something good. Maybe that's exactly what she hoped for. Catherine squeezed her hand. Your mother would be proud of who you've become, of what you're doing. She left before Olivia could respond. Luca appeared at her side. You okay? Yeah, I think. Olivia looked at the construction site, at the people gathered, at the future spreading before them. I think I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Even though it's complicated, especially because it's complicated, easy doesn't build character. He laughed. No, it really doesn't. They stood together as the sun set over the city. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new obstacles, new battles to fight. But tonight, they had this: each other, a purpose, a future. And sometimes that was all you needed to face whatever came next. Olivia leaned into Luca's embrace and let herself believe in happily ever after. Not the fairy tale kind, the real kind, built on honesty and trust and choosing each other every single day. It wasn't perfect, but it was theirs, and that made it worth everything. Well, check. The wedding, the real one, happened 3 months later. Small ceremony, close friends only. Elena served as maid of honor. Marcus Chen stood as Luca's best man. Olivia wore white, not because she was innocent or pure, but because she wanted to, because it felt like a new beginning. Luca stood at the altar watching her walk toward him, and the look on his face made every terrible thing they'd survived worth it. The vows were simple. I promise to be honest, to fight beside you, to love you even when it's hard. I promise to protect you, to trust you, to build a life with you that's worth the struggle. They meant every word. When the officiant said, "You may kiss your bride," Luca did, and Olivia kissed him back. No contract this time, no terms, no countdown to when this ended. Just forever. Complicated, messy, beautiful, forever. Later, at the reception, Olivia found herself alone on a balcony. The party continued inside, laughter and music and celebration. But she needed a moment to process everything, to really understand that she'd made it, from the attic room to here, from invisible to essential, from victim to survivor to something more. Hey, she turned. Luca stood in the doorway, champagne in hand. You're missing your own party, he said. Just needed air. He joined her, handing her a glass. They toasted silently, drank, watched the city lights. Regrets? He asked. None. You? Not a single one. Liar. He smiled. Okay, maybe one. I regret not finding you sooner, not having more time. We have time now. We do. All the time in the world. He pulled her close. What do you want to do with it? Olivia thought about that, about the community center opening next year, about the future they were building, about children maybe, someday, about growing old together, about all the possibilities spreading before them. I want to live, she said simply. Really live. Not just survive, actually live. Then that's what we'll do. They stood there, holding each other as the city breathed below them. Two damaged people who'd found each other in the dark. Two survivors who'd chosen love over safety. Two fighters who'd earned their peace. The music swelled inside. Someone called for them to come back. They had a first dance to finish, a cake to cut, a future to celebrate. But for just this moment, they stayed. Together. Always together. And that was how their story ended. Not with tragedy,